Hello and welcome to another Statford Bridge Chelsea by the Numbers live stream. It is July 12th, Sunday. I can say with resolute authority, it's coming home. I don't know what it is, but it's coming home. Yeah, we're back. It's the summer. The World Cup is flying. We are gonna check in on Chelsea and the transfers and preseason and Xabi Alonso, and we will talk about we'll talk about the World Cup and whatever. And I went to a bunch of games, and we'll talk about preseason and everything that's coming down the pipeline. Um, it is what it is, So we'll go from there. We'll see what we talk about, and we'll go for a while, and we'll have some fun with it. So I think the place to start is to talk about the outgoing deals. Yeah, I think the place to go through it is to talk about the outgoing deals. I am going to remind folks that I'm going live now. So let me do that. So, off the rip, we talked extensively about Marc Cucurella going to Real Madrid in the last stream. So if you want to see more about that, we can go there. The TLDR, the TLDW, don't watch, of that whole thing was Cucurella had 2 years left. He was 28. He had just missed some time with some muscle injuries. He was one of your highest earners. And you have a new manager coming in who is, at least now, I can say, the back 3 meter of, like, is this a back 3 indicator? The back 3 meter is slowly coming up and up and up and up and up with every move, that it kind of made sense. Chelsea got a good price. They got most of what they paid. I'd have to go back and check to see what the actual number was. 65. So you lose 10, but it's a pretty solid book profit based on how many years of his contract you'd eaten up. Made sense to get rid of Marc Cucurella. The other confirmed outbound, like official, from the club is Tyreek George. Tyreek George goes to Everton for slightly less than what his buy clause was. I think if we go back to last stream, or maybe the one before that, I said, and Gum Memory Project just had a great thing, and I don't know how to pin it, so I'm going to make sure I don't lose that. I think I said on the last stream, like, I would bet Chelsea sell Tyreek George to Everton for slightly less than what the buy clause was, which is what it ended up being. 21 million euros. There's some add-ons in there. There's a reasonable sell-on fee. Chelsea have no European football this year. They're only playing once a week. There's going to be not that many minutes to go around compared to a regular season. I wondered if there was a world where they were like, kind of, if we're going to play a back 3 and, like, there's a left inside 10 role that's, like, really open, and we want a guy to shoot a bunch from there, like, maybe we keep Ty around. Maybe we play him a little bit. And it appears that that's not going to be the case. And what I will say about Tyreek George is, if I was a mid-tier Premier League club like Everton, this is absolutely a deal that I would be willing to gamble on at this price. Tyreek's numbers in the Conference League were obscene. Very, very, very good in the Conference League. His Premier League numbers are somewhat worse, in pretty low minutes, both at Chelsea and at Everton, like, just not that great. But this is also a guy who hit, like, a pretty huge growth spurt at 18, takes 1 million shots, can shoot with both feet, can create space on the dribble, is sneakily a very good passer. Like, this is the kind of deal that you buy for 20 million, you put him on a 4 or 5 year deal, you just like kind of wait and see what happens, and you're probably going to be fine and probably happy with it. Um I would bet Everton end up pretty happy with that deal. I would probably also bet that Chelsea don't end up regretting this deal a huge amount. Um, like, I think he'll probably end up being something like a league average winger or something like that. But I think for Everton, like, it's a great gamble because there's a chance that he's awesome. But I think he will probably end up lacking the top level athleticism of like a real top winger. As the Bouillon says, God, I wish Ty was faster. He's just not, like, he doesn't really create separation as a runner because he's just not that quick. Um, but like, dude was unbelievable youth team player, won literally everything. I think he won a Youth World Cup. Like, good for him. Chelsea get a decent fee. He gets more consistent first team opportunities. I'm very happy for him. The other outgoing deal, which is the one we probably need to spend the most time talking about, is Andre Santos. I, you know, where do we start? Okay, so Chelsea get 48 million pounds plus 2 million in easily achievable add-ons plus a 10% sell-on. At a 50 million fee, the 10% sell-on is a waste of time. Sell-ons, for the most part, almost exclusively are a percentage of profit, not a percentage of the next sale. So keep in mind that, like, yeah, 50 million, United sell them for 60 million. Oh, we get 10% of that. We get 6 million. No, you get like 1 million. So keep that in mind. Second, in the last, I think, 10 years, The Athletic had a tweet about this. In the last 10 years, the number of teams to buy a player for over 50 million is 22. And 16 of them play in the Premier League. And 5 of them you're likely not selling to, right? Like, Chelsea seem to be the only team kind of in the top 6 who are very happy to do business with each other. And I think I think the finance guys, for their many faults, have correctly assessed, like, hey, if we want to go for sell guys for 50 million, like, we can't just cut 5 teams out of the equation. So Chelsea Youth says, still feels like Tyreek went a little too cheaply. Not apples to apples, but Newcastle spent a little more on that 18-year-old from Ajax, and Ajax are honking. I think it's totally fair, and I think this goes to the point that you and I have spoken about tremendously about Chelsea having really crappy loan deals for like 4 years, where if you think about Tyreek George, if Tyreek George 2 years ago or 3 years ago goes to the Eredivisie, he probably scores 9 or 10 goals, right? Like, if you think about Dom Solanke and Mason Mount, and like, I really think Chelsea have done a really terrible job of profiling. Okay, we have a young player. That young player has this about their game. We want them to add A, B, and C. But we also, if we think that this player is someone we're probably going to end up selling, we want to show off D, E, and F. And so if 2 years ago Chelsea looked at Tyreek George and we're like, we think we're probably going to end up selling him, he should have gone on loan to leagues where you can show off he's a shot monster, he scores goals, but also in a league that's going to hide some of the things that he's not amazing at. Like, the Eredivisie is full of subpar athletes. Full. And so if you say, like, look, we think Tyreek is not like the most amazing athlete, but we think the kid can score, you send him to like AZ Alkmaar and he's scoring 10 goals, and then he's coming back from the loan, and like, one, he might actually have the juice to break into the first team because there's some momentum, right? Like, there's a sense of momentum on loan deals. And if he doesn't, it's like, oh, actually, we have much more sample size to sell him to another team. And I think the thing that kills Tyreek George's sale price is that, like, he just has very, very few senior minutes, despite being in ostensibly the first team environment for 3 years now, where he has 500 Premier League minutes. He has 750 Conference League minutes. And he came out of the Conference League with like quite a bit of stock. There are people in recruitment structures that I talk to who are like, yeah, we really like this and kind of were curious about a loan deal. Because he actually got 800 minutes in there. He has 100 cup minutes. 100, like he's maybe played like 2,000 total senior minutes in 3 years. And a huge number of those are on loan at Everton. Like it's very tough to get that fee. I agree that it's probably on the low side, but I think it's for where he is now. I think it's probably fair value. So we will see on that one. On Andre though, I think it's safe to say this one is definitely low value. So if we look at the summer of midfield moves, you have Tonali for 100 million. You have Mateus Fernandez relegated 85 million. You have Elliot Anderson 130 million. And then you have Andre 50 million. And to me, I'm like, well, I think Andre Santos is better than Mateus Fernandez. Like, I think he's just objectively a better player. So I don't know. I don't know how to handle that. If we talk about for United, and I've talked to a lot of United fans, like I think they're getting someone who is objectively a very, very useful player. I think he's probably, for now, I think he's probably a Champions League level squad player. Like, I don't think today he's like a starter for a Champions League team, for a good Champions League team. You know what I mean? But I think he's an amazing innings eater. Like in baseball, there's this idea like you have like your aces, like your star guys, and then you have innings eaters, guys who like, hey, we play 160 games a season. We just need guys who will play 30 90s at a 7 out of 10 level. They're perfectly competent. They're always fit. They can do a variety of roles. Like those guys are really valuable to have. And I think when you look at Chelsea's squad, losing one of those guys for a not massive fee, a big fee, but not a massive fee. Like Chelsea make 38 million pounds in real profit. They make probably 42 in book profit. I think the real sign that this is like, no, the finances are actually really bad. Like missing out on Champions League and all the shirt sponsorship stuff, like this is actually quite bad financially. And I think one of the things that kind of set on me as I was like prepping for everything this morning is like, if you go through the midfield room, right? And so whatever, this was like the director Kieran sheet, but we can go through the actual squad. Today's July 12th. Okay. The preseason starts the 28th, which is 16 days from now. Moises Caicedo was eliminated like a week ago. So he has 2 weeks left. So like Caicedo will get back probably just as the team is going to Australia. Enzo Fernandez will get 3 weeks off from when he finishes. And we're going to talk about Enzo and the whole thing. He presumably, the earliest he could possibly be back is the 15th plus 21 days. So like the first week of August. The Premier League season starts on August 21st. So he'd be back 2 weeks before the first game. Everything I've heard about Xabi Alonso is that like he's pretty serious about return to play and pretty serious about player fitness and pretty serious about appropriate periodization and physical preparation, that like I don't think there's any world where Enzo Fernandez is starting the first game of the season for Chelsea, even if he stays. Which means you are now going into the first game of the season, as is, for now, playing Lavia and Isugo. probably playing Caicedo. Like Caicedo's probably going to be good to go. If I were Xabi Alonso, having watched all of last season, I would be telling Moises Caicedo, you're taking 2 extra weeks and you're coming back when Enzo comes back because you're toast physically. He was so clear at the World Cup with Ecuador, the guy couldn't run anymore. So I look at, you're talking about it's Lavia Nasugo playing. I think selling Andre is not a spare parts sale. Like, I think it actually forces you into buying a midfielder. Or like, or you're saying, hey, like hey, like we need to play Lavia Nasugo, and that's the reality of the situation. I don't know. Doomscroller says, I'll always advocate for players of the club going as far as possible in tournaments like the World Cup. You can't ask for experience then not want your players to go far in comps like this. Just sign better depth to balance load. No, I'm not advocating saying the players shouldn't go as deep as possible. Like, go win the World Cup. I want, like, for me, of the remaining 4 teams, I want England to win the World Cup because that's cool. And then I want Argentina because I think that's a good experience for Enzo and Barco. I think even like I had a conversation with somebody yesterday watching the Argentina game, and the question this person asked, who's like not a soccer person, right? Like they're like, they've watched the World Cup, but they don't know. And they know that Enzo Fernandez plays for Chelsea, who are my team. And they were like, hey, like, so he'll be like 25 and have won 2 World Cups as a starter. Like, how many guys are there like that? Like, he must be one of the best midfielders of all time, right? And I was like, no, he's definitely not one of the best midfielders of all time. And then I thought about it, and I was like, actually, if you think about purely on resume, the number of midfielders to start and win 2 World Cup finals is like 8 guys ever, maybe. 6 guys, maybe. Like, it's the Brazil guys who won like 3 out of 4, maybe, and that's kind of it. So I don't know. Anyways, my point being that I think Andre's a really, really big loss, and I think people will use this for agendas on player trading and on what kind of Clear Lake have done with buying young and blah 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 blah. And there is certainly an amount of truth that, like, it is an asymmetric upside game, right? Like, you buy 4 guys for 10 million, hoping that one of them will be 50 million, one of them will be 20 million, and you'll probably lose the other 2, and you'll make whatever 20 million in profit is kind of the way that works. But I think Andre is going to be asked to cover too much ground in that methodology conversation, which is kind of fitting for how he was asked to play here. But yeah, on the fee, like, the number that I would have had for Andre in this market would have been 70. Because I think really hot midfielder market, you have to get a midfielder. He covers lots of roles for you. He's very good. You had him under contract for a long time. Like, I saw a lot of people saying like, oh, like Andre wanted to go because he wants to be a starter. And I'm like, hey, that's great. But the whole point of this, where did Andre Santos go? The whole point of this thing about signing guys for 8 years is that you can look at this and be like, guess what, Andre? I'm glad you want to be a starter. You have 4 years left on your deal. Have fun, pal. Enjoy your contract for 1 more year. If your thing is you are going to sign these guys to huge contracts to game amortization, and then like preserve sale values and blah 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 blah, like, you also have to lean on the other benefit for you as the club, which is saying, hey, you have a lot of years left on your deal, take a hike and play. And also being like, hey, you have 8 years left on your deal, we're not giving you a raise yet. Like, this is the other thing. I love Jackson. I think Jackson's very good. Jackson got a huge raise after 1 year. Cole Palmer got a huge raise after 1 year and then another raise after 2 years. Cucurella got a raise after 1 good year. Like, at some point, you have to push back a little bit. Otherwise, you've just like taken on all the risk and like, hey, Mudryk, we're going to give you an 8-year deal, and if it doesn't work, great, you get 8 years of pay. You, and again, whatever, we're all for player power, and like, I don't care about saving billionaires money, but at the same time, like, no, you actually do absolutely need to lean on the contract sometimes. And so Chelsea will have raised Chelsea will have raised something like 125 million euros. Something like 125 million euros. AP says if the club is strict on the whole 8-year contract and you're stuck, players aren't going to agree to sign those long contracts. One, I think players will, because particularly the archetype of player that Chelsea are buying, which is predominantly player going from like mid club to good club for the first move of their career. That is the contract that, like, no matter what happens, you're set for life. Like, if you make 5 million a year at 8 years at Chelsea, you are taking home 20 million pounds after tax. Like, you're fine for the rest of your life. You're okay. Your family is okay. That's a really attractive proposition for a lot of players. I think you should be willing to work with players on things. But if Andre's objection is like, I want to be a starter, the point I'm making to him is like, you paid 2,000 minutes last year, bro. Like, you're going to play. And I think him missing out on the World Cup is probably a huge part of this. But also, you have 4 years till another World Cup. You can look at it and say, I don't know. So it is what it is. I also think, like, Andre is not so important or so influential that, like, if he throws a strop because you're like, no, you're not moving, you're fine. Like, it's not a huge deal. So 130 million on incomings. Who have we got? Omega is here. Omega's in preseason. Omega's very large. I am probably higher than Omega on consensus. I think people have probably swung too far the other way because he missed basically the whole season with injury. I think it's also very clear that he was like, well, I'm not playing for Strasbourg next season. And the Strasbourg season has kind of gone off the rails once Rosenior left. I'm not killing myself to get back here, which is like not a great attitude to have, but I understand it. Still very interesting. We don't know what the number is, but let's leave that there. Sudpayev is here. He's in preseason. Great. Denner, who cares? Kenda is here already. I think that Portuguese league translation to England is pretty good. I think Kenda is a very fun and good young player. I think this is like definitely the shape of young player. Like, if you compare the Kenda deal to the Gittins deal, I am like 100 times higher on the Kenda deal than the Gittins deal. Stupid good passer, can play a number of different roles. Pretty good defensively for an attacker. There's a lot to like. Scores, creates, like, can do a lot of things. I would bet if Chelsea are playing back three, he's going to play a whole lot of left wing back and be so good there. That would be my bet. Marco Palestra. What do we think about Palestra? Had we talked about Palestra in the last... Did we talk about Palestra on the last stream? Had that happened yet? I don't think so, right? Because I think that happened when... I think that happened when I was on vacation. Does anyone remember? Did we talk about Palestra last video? I don't think so. If we didn't, my take on Palestra is kind of as follows. People are going to get really horny for the dribbling. Like, so horny for the dribbling. But it is not valuable dribbling. And what do I mean by this? And people are going and I'm going to get killed for this. So, like, whatever. Because I was very big on the Garnacho dribbling. The kind of dribbling Garnacho does, which is like move the ball from the final third into the penalty area. Not so much beat people 1v1, but like receive wide, move the ball into the penalty area. Very valuable dribbling. Okay, really, really important. Going from the final third, into the box, super valuable. Palestra does wing back dribbling. It is mostly carries. Like, he shows up very, very high in progressive carries. It is mostly carries, and it is mostly like straight down the line. There is not a whole lot of stuff into the box. It is like middle third to final third, or first third to middle third. Generally, that is more valuable for weaker teams than it is for better teams for two reasons. One, progressing in wide areas. Like if I pull up tactical board and I just pull up my like a random one. Sure. So if I just pull up a random one, right? And we'll pretend Neto is Palestra. For two reasons. One, good teams generally like don't need their wide players to do a huge amount of ball progression. There are exceptions to that, like Trent. Like Trent was a ball progression engine for Liverpool, but he did it with passing inside for the most part. Progressing the ball centrally is more dangerous than wide progression because you get the ball here and you're like, great, we're going to move the ball into the, like, we're going to get breakaways and we're going to go straight to the net. Like, the net is in the middle. The middle is better than wide. The second part is like, you have generally, if you are a good team, center backs and midfielders who do lots of ball progression. So your wide players aren't really doing progression things for you from wide areas. So, like, when you think about the situations that Chelsea face, like, they actually don't need this guy here to get the ball here and dribble it to here. There's not a lot of situations where Chelsea need that. That is the thing that Palestra does a lot of, is get the ball and dribble in a straight line up the line. He is very good at that. He is not a very good passer. Like, and by saying that, that is probably like, it's probably harsh because of the role, but it's also definitely true because he's just not that good at it. Like, both in terms of quantity and quality, he does not do a whole amount. He's very, very conservative with his risk profile. He is doing a lot of, one of the things I actually quite like about him is he does like, he's like very two-footed for a wingback, which is like quite rare. And he does a lot of like combine inside and then woo and then go, which is like, I think actually very valuable. There's like a lot of Victor Moses to him. Like, I actually think Victor Moses is probably a decent comp for this guy. And like, no one's going to make that comp because of the cross race things, but it is what it is. Somebody said he's a very good crosser. I don't think that's true even a little bit. It's a lot of like high hung up crosses, which is not, that's like the worst kind of cross, right? Like, if you think about like the crosses you want kind of three different ones. You want to get really, really, really deep and like fizz it across the face, really, really deep and cut it back on the ground, or you want early balls in behind the defense. He doesn't really hit any of those. Like, he is get to the end line, stand it up to the back post, which is like not great. Like, that's not the kind of cross you want. I think he's very athletically talented. I think he is a decent 1v1 defender. He does a lot of similar things to what Joral Hato does, where he is like, hey, I am quicker, bigger, stronger, faster than you. Take a big touch past me and I'm going to win the space. I don't know. The other thing that I think is like actually a real problem is for wingbacks, given how aggressive his role is, he doesn't take very many shots. He doesn't create a whole lot of shots. The shots he does take and does create aren't of a gloriously high quality. I just look at it, I'm like, man, you are really, really indexing on like some improvement here. Um, and then you get to the fee, and like the fee is like, where the fuck did 57 million come from? Like, just not even. I don't know. Um, and like physically, I think he can hang. Like he's fast, but he's not quick. Like he's very, very straight line speed. Like get to going, he's good, but he's not. He's not very quick. Like his feet are kind of slow. And I think against like Premier League wingers, he's gonna have a pretty hard time 1v1. Like we saw this with Hato, right? Like Hato kind of relied on his physicality, and at left back, like sometimes you could see him get rinsed. Um, yeah, I think this is a very big fee, and you're paying a lot for like he's 20, he just won Defender of the Year. Atalanta historically sell well, but like you have one season of this guy, right? Which I don't like at all. Like you do not have a lot of signal on this guy. You have one season, and you're like, I don't know about that one. And there's not a whole lot there. Um, it is a lot of like be fast, dribble in a straight line, and I just don't think you need to pay 57 million for that. We'll see. He's young. Maybe he gets better. I don't know. Uh, I would bet against. I would not have paid anywhere near this fee, but here we are. So that's the incomings so far. There's also Barco. Barco we've talked about. Barco I think is like a totally worthwhile gamble. Um, I think Barco is a totally worthwhile gamble. I think he is an excellent, excellent creative passer. I think he's very slow, which is going to be a problem. He creates shots at like quite a good rate. He gets an okay but not exceptional number of shots for himself. Um, but he is like an absolute progression hub. I think against weak teams, you can play him in the double pivot and he'll be very good. I think against good teams, he can play in the double 10 or as a 10 and he'll be quite good. I think the days of him being a wide player at left back are few and far between at this point. I think he's just not quick enough to play there, and he's not a great defender, like 1v1. Um, he's like a pretty good like structural squad defender, like in midfield, in the block, screening, passing, moving, whatever. But as a fullback, like I don't think that's going to be a thing for him. He's also not nearly as undersized as he was. Like he definitely hit a little bit of a late growth spurt. Like he looks bigger than he was for sure, and he's definitely filled out a little bit. I'm totally fine with the Barco number. Again, depends on what the fees are. The fees between Strasbourg and Chelsea are always super weird because the way it's accounted is like Strasbourg can't make any profit on it. Um, Strasbourg can't make any profit on it. So like same with Omega, where it's like I don't know what the number is going to be. Like at that point, you're just doing accounting tricks. So I don't know. Um, Roshan says, speaking of growth spurts, Reggie Walsh. Yeah, Reggie Walsh looks hench. So we'll see. Why is this not going up? How much of Palestra's flaws are things that can be improved on versus how much are we stuck with? I mean, technically, I think he's quite poor, right? Like like look at him like play passes and they're all. So like things like that improve, sure, but I think at 20, like largely technically, you are the player you are. Um, but I think there's enough athleticism there that like if you can make him a pretty smart off-ball mover, like the shots thing, for example, for a wingback, right? Um, you can absolutely coach wingback arrive at the back post to get shots for yourself. Like you can get one very good shot a game as a wingback. That's totally coaching. You can coach one really good shot a game. And that's tremendously valuable. Like a wingback who puts up a quarter of an expected goal a game is, again, in a season, that's like 7 goals. Like that's hugely, hugely, hugely valuable. If you look back at Marcus Alonso, like hugely important to have players like that. And Alonso was like so deeply flawed, but he had like one very, very plus skill. The other player that's coming up is Pep Chavarria, who looks quite similar to um, who looks quite similar to Pedro Neto. He looks very similar to Pedro Neto physically, but he looks like Palestra, kind of the shape of his production wise, like not a huge amount of creation. Um, Certainly more passing than Palestra, but it is a lot of like carry the ball in straight lines up the left flank. There's definitely more crossing there for him. Um, like certainly does more as a creator than Palestra does. Probably worse defensively. The place that I come on Pep Javaria is like there is not really a left wing back at the club that you want to play. I don't think Ishe is that guy. Um, I don't think Ishe is that guy. I don't think he's really like an attacking left back. And there's not really like a left wing back at the club already, unless you're playing Kenda a lot there. Um, and so for me, it's like, okay, if you're going to buy a 27-year-old, I think he's 28 now. Um, I think he's 28 now. Yeah, he's 28 now. Um, and he is going to cost you 18 million euros or something. Like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. Like, you'll get him on a 4-year deal. He'll cost you 7 million a year in amortization and wages. Like, he'll be a totally fine guy. And in 2 years, you'll move off him and do something else. And you'll sell him back to Spain for 11. And it is what it is. That's kind of where I have him in my head. It's fine. Like, I don't really care. It's the right size of deal for the role that he's probably going to play. You know what I mean? So that is fine with me. But yeah, that's kind of the deals that have happened. The two other deals that we've gotten so far are Jesse Derry has gone to the Sporting Lisbon on loan. And a lot of people were like, all you do is complain, when I was like, hey, this is a really weird loan deal. And by really weird, I didn't explicitly mean bad. I pretty explicitly meant weird. And I mean, let me kind of focus on that for 1 second. I think people kind of don't realize how like Sporting are like really good. Like they are competitive for the title every single year. It goes down all the way to the bottom. They have their own very well established player trading operation with a lot of guys who are like 18 to 24. A lot of guys who are 18 to 24. That they'll probably try and sell, right? And I think the thing that I get to is like it will either be very, very good or the biggest waste of time. And the reason I say that is this. If he plays and can help them win, he will play, right? Like if he can help them win, he will absolutely play because they're in like win now mode. But if he cannot help them win, he will play 15 minutes the whole season because they don't own him and they have enough of their own guys and they have a very good academy and they have blah, 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 blah. Like, why would they invest any minutes in him instead of investing in Conrad Harder or investing in Suleiman Faye or Flavio Gonzalez or Eduardo Felicissimo or like any of these guys? Why would they invest any minutes in Derry if he's not helping them win? And so that's there. On the flip side, like if he can play now, and it's not clear to me that he can't play now, right? Like I would be surprised if he was consistent positive contributor for a Champions League level top of Portugal team right now. That would be, I wouldn't bet on that. But I don't think it's like out of the realm of possibility. Then I think it will be really good because I think the Portuguese league is a great proving ground for young players, and I think he's also like it's the right shape of competition that he'll face, where it's like a lot of low blocks, where like you are the aggressor and blah 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 blah. Perfect Man says they invested minutes in Kenda last year. Kenda helps them win. Kenda is like, no disrespect to Jesse Derry, Giovanni Kenda is like on another planet as a prospect comparatively right now. Like way helps them win. The other part of it is like Chelsea and basically every prospect deal they have done have included escalators for clubs to keep playing the guys who go back on loan for a year. Every single deal they have done this. We're like, yeah, the fee is 50 and we'll pay you another $2 million if you keep playing him. So we'll see. I would be surprised if he plays a ton. Somebody said like he's young, he just needs to be around pros. I think that's complete bullshit. He needs to play. He 100% needs to play. Like not playing is really bad. Josh Achampong has been around pros for 3 years and has not played and is a worse prospect for it. You need to play. So we'll see. We will see how that goes. I would not have done that deal. Again, in the shape of the conversation we had earlier, I would have sent Jesse Derry to the Netherlands to go cook as like a not top-end athlete, a not top-end athlete with like pretty good attacking creation chops, go to a weaker league, go create a bunch of stuff and have fun. I think I would send basically every attacker to the Eredivisie on loan. Like it's a league that's pretty open to loans. It's a league that you can go do a lot as an attacker. It's a league with really good training standards. It's very close to England in terms of travel, right? Like you like London to Amsterdam is a very short flight. I think you can even take a train if you really wanted to. Like I think it's a really good loan league. So we'll see. Roshan says the thing is, if it works at Sporting, it'll work really well because you wanted to play for a dominant team. I totally agree. That if it works, it'll go so well. If it works, it'll be awesome. I just am skeptical. The other move is that Harrison Murray Campbell went to Kortrijk, who I thought were in the top division, but I guess they're not. Where's the Challenger League? But maybe they got promoted. The Challenger League. Harrison Murray Campbell went to Kortrijk. Okay, who did get promoted? Into the Belgian top division. What I would say is that I think Belgium is a pretty safe league for young player loans. Fulham loaned Luc de Fougerols, which is like such a bastardization, but I'm not saying it the super French way. Fulham loaned Luc de Fougerols to Dender, who were like battling a relegation battle as a 19-year-old defender, and it was like a pretty good move for him. He had an excellent World Cup for Canada. And I think that's like kind of the similar path that I'm thinking about. I think Murray Campbell is like a better prospect than LDF, but I think Belgium is like a pretty safe league to be a young player learning in. And the nice thing is like even the bad teams in Belgium try and play, so like he's going to get to pass, which is the standout skill for him, is he's an excellent passer. So we'll see. I'm very curious to see how this loan goes. But I think it's the right shape of deal for him. And the nice thing for those unaware is like it doesn't count as a. And I knew it. They're a back three team, and I knew they were going to be a back three team because he's going to play right center back and a three for them. Also, didn't this guy play for? Yeah, I was going to say this guy played in MLS. Um, yeah, I think it's a solid loan, and he doesn't count as an international loan swap because he's under 21 and he is been at the club for 3 years. So it's like I think it's a reasonable loan deal, and I think I would have been probably more into him going to like a good championship team on loan because he is. I think he's in a weird spot physically where like he actually needs to play against like men, like physical men a little bit. And Belgium does have its fair amount of like big physical forwards, but I think that's a thing that he definitely needs to add in his game. I think that's something I'm a big advocate for PL2, but I think one of the things PL2 doesn't do very well is I think center backs, particularly for the better teams, are very sheltered there. Um, and so I think this is a good loan deal for him. So I have no problems on that. That's all the transfers that we have so far. What else do we want to talk about? Um, what else do we want to talk about? Manzambi. I will say, chat was so nailed on with Manzambi. You guys were like 9 months ago. We're like, bro, Manzambi's sick. Royal Martin says uses up an international loan slot too. No, Harrison Murray Campbell does not use an international loan slot. Jesse Derry does, but Harrison Murray Campbell does not. The guys left off the preseason squad. Yeah, somebody posted this earlier. Let me go find that list of guys. Okay, players who didn't go to the World Cup but aren't in preseason training. Badiashile, Disasi, Caleb Wiley, Ishe Samuel Smith, Denner, Garnacho, David Washington, Datro Fofana, Giu. Yeah, I would bet. So Garnacho, let's talk about Garnacho. Let's go find Fab's tweets on Garnacho because he's so big about Garnacho. Manzambi does feel very Villa coded. Let me go find. Wow, 20 million for Trossard is a good deal for them. Where are you? Where are you, Fabrizio and Garnacho? Where are you? And I'm so sorry. When I was driving, I did like a road trip up to Vancouver to watch Canada play, and I was driving through like the forests of Oregon, and I had no signal, so I only had like the playlist downloaded, and I had my high school Spotify playlist, and I ended up listening to like high school pop punk, which was cool. Okay, so Fabrizio says, understand Chelsea value Garnacho at 50 million euros for clubs abroad, 45 million pounds, which is 53 million euros for Premier League clubs. Garnacho's not training under Xabi Alonso. Chelsea worked closely with his camp to find a solution on exit. A bunch of Chelsea journalists said, like, a deal's pretty close. And we'll see. My feel on the Garnacho thing is basically this. Yeah, here. Understand Chelsea believe deal for Garnacho to leave is close. Interest from Premier League, Europe, and Saudi. Here's my thing on Garnacho. Chelsea paid probably a little bit too much. More so if we think back to my feelings last summer was I was really happy with the deal because I thought Garnacho was pretty good and I thought there was a pretty good chance that he would end up being like better than he was. Like he would be a quite good starter in the Premier League or whatever. And that if it didn't work out, unless he tore his ACL, you would be able to get out of what you paid for him quite easily. And I think that part of it is going to be very true. I think Chelsea are going to get, they paid 46 million euros, 40 million pounds. I think they will get basically what they paid, probably 40 million euros, quite easily. Um, Again, people are saying no club is paying 50 million GBP. Chelsea sell well. Garnacho is quite good. He's young. He'll clearly go play kind of wherever. Um, I think like it's going to be pretty easy to get 40 million euros on that deal. Will you get 50 million GBP? Probably not. But I think you'll get 40 million euros pretty easily. And I think it was a very worthwhile gamble. You tried it. It didn't work out how you hoped. I probably wouldn't cut ties this quickly. Like I think you have a better season, and it like if you look at his season, he put up 8 goals and assists in his first 1100 minutes under Maresca. A lot of cup games, a lot of European games, a lot of rotation minutes, a lot of sub appearances, right? Sure. And so you have there. And then you have the Rossignol and the interim era. And you have, he goes like 5 goals and assists in like 1200 minutes. So it's like not that bad. The underlyings are better kind of the whole way through. But it clearly like quite didn't work. I think it's fine to be like, I don't know, I guess it's like fine to move on. And like somebody said, like, I have a hard on for Garnacho. Being totally honest, like, my opinion is much closer to the consensus outside of Chelsea than, like, people outside of Chelsea are like, I don't know, this guy's pretty good. Like, that's kind of the generic opinion for not Chelsea fans. And I will say, I watch Garnacho in person. I totally understand why people at Stamford Bridge are like, fuck, I hate this guy so much. I get it. Like, he is not fun to watch in person. I understand why people feel that way. But the consensus opinion outside of Chelsea is like, I don't know, he's pretty good. Like, he's fine. And like, I don't think it will be hard for Chelsea to get 40 million euros. And I have no problem with them saying like, you know what, with so many fewer minutes this season, and we're going to a back 3, which we saw he already struggled with under Amorim, we think it's unlikely we can rehab his value from here. Move on. Top Dog says, who thinks he's good? Literally, I would say probably 75% of people who work at top European clubs think he is like quite a good young prospect. The opinion outside of, I don't know, Chelsea and United is like mostly quite positive. Outside of people who are just like raging that he has blonde hair and tattoos, like it's mostly like, yeah, he's a good young player. Not by like very angry people on Twitter, but by like real people who do this for a job. Most people think he's pretty good. So it is what it is. I don't know what I'm gonna say. I think Garnacho will go. I think you'll get 40 million. You'll make like a book profit. Where does he go? I don't know. Probably Italy. Italy feels like a safe place where like he'll go on like a loan. He'll go on like a loan with a 10 million fee and an obligation for 30 million. Like that's kind of what I expect. Is like he'll go to I don't know. He'll go to like Napoli or Roma or something for 10 plus 30, for 10 million on loan, and then a 30 million obligation if they don't get relegated. And I think it'll be fine. I could also totally see Saudi. I could totally see him being like, yeah, I'm just going to go make 20 million a year and I'll go play in Saudi. But you never know. Other guys who are not in preseason. Guiu, I have literally no idea what's going to happen. Felipe Tilkin says, feel like Chelsea are going to settle for a Jackson repeat. I would actually be pretty supportive of using just admit you were wrong on Garnacho. This guy's only rated by data nerds. Here's the thing. It's only rated by data nerds. The Nerds won, bro. I don't know how much more clearly I can say this. The Nerds have already won. Every club in the world worth anything that has won anything has a data department, has data analysts for recruitment, has is using XG, is using possession value models. They've already won. So you can be like, the Nerds, bro. You're losing already. Go bet on games. Go to the betting markets and be like, because you know so much ball. You know so much ball. Go bet on games and you will lose money because the Nerds are better at this than you. And I don't know how much I can say this. And again, I will say this very clearly for the 157 people in chat. If you think that there's no place for data in football, leave the chat. I don't want you here. There is no productive conversation to have. If you don't want to talk about XG and you don't want to talk about possession value and you don't want to talk about how data is used in football and you don't want to talk about how the smart people are doing this, leave the chat. Go find a beach, dig a hole, put your head in it, and put the sand around your head and stay there. I don't want you here. Nobody else wants you here. So please leave. That's all I have to say. People like Garnacho. I don't even know what to say. Somebody said like he's going to get a Jackson loan. I would actually be really supportive of doing a loan. I think a loan would be like actually a reasonable way to rehab his value. We're like, yeah, we won't rehab him here, but if you loan him to Roma and they pay his wages plus 5 or 6 million, like he scores 9 goals, you're then going to flip him quite easily for what you paid, I think. And I would say I felt the same way about Delap, right? Like I didn't think Delap was good. This is the other side of the coin. I didn't think Delap was good. I thought the fee was too high. I thought his wages were going to be so high that I was like, I don't know about this. But if it goes wrong, you're going to be able to get out of the Delap deal very easily. Now, the problem that I think I and others didn't foresee is like Delap was like, no, I like Chelsea, bro. I'm not going anywhere. And that means he's not going to leave this summer. But we'll see. Yeah, I think Garnacho is quite easy to loan and just do loan, get a decent obligation, or loan and then revisit next summer. And I think it's like an okay place to be. Other guys who are not Garnacho's asked, I don't care what his underlying standard. So leave, bro. If you don't care, leave. I don't know why you're here to listen then. If you don't want to hear what his underlings are, then leave. That's what we talk about here. I don't understand. Like I don't go to like fucking Planned Parenthood protests and like listen to these people. Because I don't care what they have to say. If you don't care what it is, then leave. Go do anything else. Like I can't imagine. It's a Sunday. Like what time is it? It's like 7:30 p.m. in England right now. I cannot imagine at 7:30 p.m. being like, bro, I'm going to go listen to a YouTube stream of this guy that I disagree with everything on. How sad must your life be that at 7:30 p.m. on a Sunday, instead of spending time with your loved ones and your family, doing something you enjoy, you're like, yeah, I'm going to go listen to this guy I don't like and don't agree with. What the fuck? What a sad existence. Datro Fofana, I suspect will go. I have no idea what's going to happen with that. I thought he would move to Strasbourg on a permanent to replace Omega. It seems like that's not going to happen. I don't know. Very strange. Guiu, I think, very clearly, like, again, of like players that need a loan, and you have to be really smart about where you pick the loan. Send him to Belgium to go score 20 goals. Send him to the Eredivisie to go score 20 goals. I'm begging you. He is so physically talented that if you go send him to the Eredivisie, he will score 18 goals and you will sell him for 25 million next summer. No problem. Please, 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 please do a smart loan. If you sold Guiu this summer, I would hate it. You're not going to make decent money, but he's so decent. Like, he's not good. He's not a great finisher. His touch kind of sucks, but he's big, he's strong, he's fast. He'll throw his head at loose balls in the box. Like, the guy will score goals in his career. I am so confident of this. So, like, do a smart loan and you will make decent money. I'm very, very, very confident. Very, very, very confident. Um, Talk about James Garner's underlings. Oh wait, never mind. United sold him 5 years ago, and that's us. Yeah, I mean, we should definitely sign James Garner, bro. He's totally not worse than Andre Santos. We should sign James Garner. He's so good. Whatever. Um, David Washington. I have no thoughts about David Washington. I'm not sure he's a real person. I don't know if he exists in the astral plane. I don't know if he is a fake guy. You know in the office when in the office when they like make a fake salesman to try and get more commission. That's what David Washington is. He's a fake player to get more agent commission on the Andre Santos deal. That's what I think he is. He's not a real person. Um Given that loan spots are limited, at what sell on percentage does it make sense to just sell the player versus loan? I mean, it all depends on what the fee is and where they are in their contract. And like, it's more complicated than just those. Um, it's just those. And yeah, I mean, I think I don't think it works like that. Like that you can just go number and say 20% sell on, just sell him. Because like for the most part, I'd rather not have sell-ons, right? Unless you're selling like really young players, like I have no problem with like keeping schmuck insurance. Like if you sell a young player for a very small amount and you're like, oh, maybe he turns into a 20 million pound guy and we were wrong. Like keeping schmuck insurance is fine, but I think broadly I'd rather extract more value out of the deal now. You know what I mean? Um, so I don't know. Um, how valuable is the profile of a box striker who's great in the air when you're chasing a game? I think it's very important. I think one of the things that I look at the current, or I mean, really the last couple like Chelsea teams is you're really lacking like a Giroud profile that like, yeah, late in game we'll bring him on, or a Loic Remy, bring him on for 15 minutes and like you just go from there. So I don't know. We'll see. Other guys not in preseason yet. Denner, I don't care. I'm not thinking about him. Ishe is like someone will explain to me what happened last summer at some point. Right? At some point somebody will be like, "Well, Chelsea bought him and then they sold him and then they brought him back and then they sold him." Like I still don't understand. And then they picked, and Seb has harped on this, and Seb is like so correct. They sent him on loan to Swansea, who, like, if you are not aware, Swansea play the same left back literally every game. Like, if you look, like, if I go, let's go through. Who played left back for Swansea? Josh Tyman. If I go to the next game, who played left back for Swansea? Josh Tyman. If I go to the next game, who played left back for Swansea? Like Josh Tyman played like 48 90s or something. 44 90s. Like why is that the place that you would go? So I don't really understand that. I would suspect he won't be back at Chelsea. I don't really know what happened. So I suspect he won't be back, but I don't know. Caleb Wiley, I suspect, will get another domestic loan deal because they're not going to waste an international spot on him. He has had pretty terrible injury luck, but has also gone on loan to the championship and been like thoroughly unimpressive. I think he broke his leg or something this year. Something like that. But like, I was very clear at the time, having watched a lot of him in MLS, that adductor injury, not even a broken leg. I was pretty clear that like this was an insane transfer based on the fee. Like it was 4 times higher than I wanted it to be. and I just didn't really get anything about it. You're not making any money back. He also makes he can't even go back to MLS because he makes too much money. So like you're just gonna get another domestic loan, and he's just gonna sit there. Um, and yeah, he's gonna go on loan to like Watford or something again. Disasi and Badiashile I expect will both be moved, but I think you're seeing a lot of like just sitting on moves until the World Cup is done. I think that is jamming up a lot of the market still. Um I would bet kind of in 2 weeks you'll start to see a lot more moves happen. So we'll see from there on those guys. That's kind of where my head is at on those guys. Um, David Washington is apparently the nicest player ever. When he just came over to the UK, my son's teammate and his parents randomly ran into him and recognized him, and he's so happy to talk to them and sign things. Well, that's very nice that he's a real person. So many kids, I don't even know who Denner is. Denner is the fake left back they paid 10 million on when he was 16, and he like doesn't even play age group youth national teams. Like he's not good. Dujuan Richards went on loan to Leicester last year. I don't know if he's still under contract or what the deal is. I don't know. Omari Kellyman moving like to Ketelare still had a good loan last season. Yeah, he has certainly like played himself into the conversation of like, oh, maybe he's a real prospect. He had a very good loan last year. And I'm quite curious to see where he ends up this season. As like a second strikery thing, he's quite fun. So I would be very curious to see, does he stay with Cardiff after promotion? I would bet they probably try to. But I don't know. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see on a lot of things. Yeah, I don't know. Ironically, David Washington's football problem is that he's too nice. He has no physical presence, which is kind of a problem for a 9. Yeah, he does certainly seem like a bit of a wallflower, I think is the phrase that I would use for him. Let's see. What if I just do like from at Fabrizio Romano Chelsea? Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. How do I advance search? Chelsea, and then where's the account? At Fabrizio Romano. Let's just see what pops up from him. Latest. Chelsea have not sent any bids for Quinones, despite reports. That would be a very strange one. Somebody says Strasbourg have a new coach. Who did Strasbourg hire? Did they end up getting the guy from Famalicão? Obity says, why do you think Delap would be an easier sale than most if the data isn't good? I think Delap is an easy sale because he's domestic. He scored a bunch of goals. He doesn't cost that much money. His dad used to play. Like, he's a very easy one for clubs to convince them of and be like, hey, he scored 12 goals for Ipswich. Like, it's very easy to find another team that would pay 28 million and give you most of what you paid for him back. You know what I mean? I think and the fee is not that high. All of those things. So we'll see. Chelsea says Jamie J. Morgan had as good a loan as Kellyman at the same level and was sold for $4 million. He'll score championship goals and get a Premier League chance in the next 3 years. Yeah, I think that's probably true. Chelsea have had a really weird run of like youth team strikers. Like Mason Burstow, I was like, oh man, this guy might be really good, and he ended up just not being good kind of at all. I mean, I guess he scored 12 goals for Bolton last year, which is pretty good actually. But again, like weird move to Hull. We'll see. We'll see. Just a weird crop of guys. Who was the other guy? The one who's at maybe I'm thinking of Jimmy J. Morgan. No, Jaden Wareham. I watched Jaden Wareham score like a crazy header for Exeter against AFC Wimbledon when I was there. And he scored a lot of goals this year. But he's another one who was like in that same path. Strasbourg hired the Family Sao guy. So on the Family Sao guy, I can't remember his name. I think it's like Ricardo Oliveira. Family Sao. Is that right? Family Sao manager. Hugo Oliveira. Is this the guy? No, it's not. So Marco Silva assistant. The main thing, the only thing you need to talk yourself about is Family Sao, for those who are unaware, is owned by the guy who also owns a huge chunk of Atletico Madrid. What he has done with Family Sao is we say, hey, agents, you are going to run the team. The whole club is built on player trading, and they are run by agents. That's the whole team. They, at one point, played like 100 players in a season or something insane. Like, just like crazy, weird things. It wasn't this season. It was a few seasons ago. Like, they just play a humongous number of players for player trading purposes. And if you are going to reflect on that, he's just going to be fine with doing whatever Blueco tells him to do for Strasbourg. That's the whole hire. I have no thoughts on him as football. I think Finley have done okay. I think that's mostly a recruitment story, but yeah, he's just going to play the guys they tell him to play, is for the most part. Thoughts on Somerville? I would not touch Somerville with a 1,000-foot pole. He doesn't score enough. He doesn't create enough. He doesn't do what you need him to do enough. And he's going to cost you a lot of money because West Ham apparently have figured out that they can sell for a lot of money. It's Family Cow, not Family Sao. Well, sorry for my Portuguese. I just don't think there's enough there for what you're going to pay. Like, if you're going to pay $40 million for Somerville, why wouldn't you just keep Garnacho? Like, what's the point of doing that shuffle? He's worse at everything. I just don't get it. So I would not touch. Can you break down our options in the back three? There's far more positional stuff than in the two. Yeah, sure. I think that's a fun thing to talk about. So I think you have a couple like really, really fun options if you are Xabi Alonso and you're going to play a three. And again, if we look at Chavarria, Palestra, Andre Santos going out, like all of these to me feel very back three coded. Very, very, very back three coded. What does this say? All of these things are very, very back three coded. And so I think you have a couple options. I think you can do, and we know I'm going to mess up the numbers, so like just forgive the numbers and let it lie. So I think you can do stuff that looks like this. Okay. Colwill, middle of the three, Fofana right center back, Hatta left back. I think in situations like this, you're going to have James as your right back, and you're going to get a lot of flex 4, flex 3 stuff. But you are really, really in this situation looking at almost certainly one player deep, 2 players high to load the last line. And you're going to get things where these guys, Hato and Fofana, are asked to initiate as dribblers, not as passers. Very, very, very clear. As dribblers, not passers. That I think is number one. I think you can see stuff like this. I think you will also probably see a healthy amount of stuff like this, where it's two fullbacks and a true center back. I think that's going to be really tough. I don't think this is super viable except against the really, really, really weakest teams. Um, but I think we're going to see it at least a little bit. What I think I'm curious about, and I don't know what I'm curious about, and I don't know how much of it we're going to see, is how much do we see stuff like this where it's three legit center backs and like whatever, this is like Tosin or Chaloba. I don't know how much we're going to see this. Like I can see them leaning all the way into, hey, you know what? We really need to get better defensively. We're going to go legit back three. Like this, if they end up buying Lacroix, right? Is like, okay, you have three guys. You have two, like, maybe a little bit undersized center backs as your outside center back. You have Lacroix as like the anchor. That's kind of like, I think we might see this, but I don't know. I think the most likely is you're going to get one of James or Hato or Achimpong are going to spend some time as an outside center back if it's a three. That's the place that I think it just makes the most sense from a squad composition perspective, but I don't know. Doom Scroller says two fullbacks and Cola disaster waiting to happen. Again, I think you could only get away with it against like the very like 70% possession games. And you're really, really going to dominate the ball. And I think Hato and James are physically talented enough. You wouldn't get super dunked on. And it's not like when Pep played like Kolarov as a center back, right? Who's slow. But I don't know. I wouldn't go there, but I would bet we'll see it. At least once, I'd bet we'll see it. If you had to make a bet, Delap or Omega more Chelsea minutes this season, I would bet Delap because I think there's a chance Omega gets a loan. Somebody, I can't remember what Chelsea journalist it was, but they like, one of the Chelsea journalists said something a few weeks ago, like, yeah, Chelsea felt they had to move Omega in now before other teams could get him, and they might still loan him and then sell him. I could see it. I could see them loaning Omega out this season. So I would bet Delap, but not by a huge amount. Yeah, that's I don't know. Comster says Shabby's first interview was a bit of a softball, but did you learn anything? No. And I also find it interesting that we haven't really seen any video of training. We haven't really seen any videos of training. We saw a picture of the pitch from like a drone, but I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. I also find it odd that like, so Alonso's first session was Tuesday, I think, which was the 9th or 8th, and the first preseason game is the 28th, and there are no domestic preseason games in between that. I'm sure there will be some closed door games. I'm very curious to see who and when and what they are. But I don't know. We'll see. I really liked the two. I really liked them doing the two domestic friendlies at the end of preseason last year. Obviously, preseason was messed up because of the Club World Cup, but like doing the Leverkusen and AC Milan friendlies, I thought that was like really cool. Like obviously it's less lucrative financially, but I don't know. I would bet they play. I would bet today they played a closed door inter squad, and I would bet probably each of the next. I would bet they probably play 3 closed door domestic friendlies, like maybe against the 21s and against like a lower division team or something like QPR or AFC Wimbledon or something. I would bet they happen. I hope. I always like. Does anyone remember the Loftus Cheek hat trick against QPR in the closed door friendly that we never got the video of? That's the game I want back. Roshan says the nonsense pseudo intellectual analysis of Shabby's interview killed me. He says culture is important. Yeah, man, that's what every coach says. Yeah, I think I don't know. I don't. It is what it is. I don't think so. Roshan, do you think Shabby plays mid-season friendlies like United did last year? I'd be surprised, but you never know. Again, it depends how your cups go and like and international breaks. Did we talk about Reggie Walsh coming back jacked? Yeah, I did say he looked hench. Chelsea Youth pointed out that like it's been a while since we saw him with the first team, and like he was kind of doing this all of last season. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We will see. I think in terms of a couple transfer questions that keep coming up. Do you think we get a versatile left winger? If yes, who? Rogers too expensive, maybe NDI. I mean, it seems like Chelsea are kind of pointed that direction, but I also think they're pretty heavily focused on outgoings before they bring guys in. I think it is interesting to me that what's his name? Almala. I think it's interesting that Almala hasn't moved yet. He turned down Brentford. That's one that I'm like, ooh. Convex says would be fun if you asked John McKenzie to have you on the Tifo bot to talk Chelsea and or data. It's hard, man, because they record in person, right? And the time difference is very difficult. Like when I recorded with John here, I recorded at like 5 a.m. my time to make it work. And same with like I think and Chelsea Youth I think did me a favor and recorded at like 10 p.m. his time when he came on. So it's very hard to make the time difference work. So I'd love to, but they're doing a great thing. John actually had a really fun tweet yesterday that was like it was like he said John McKenzie. He said I will always say that football tactics exist in the tension between the individual and the collective. If you let the tension collapse too far one way or the other, you're losing something. And I thought that was a really funny way to phrase it, but it's so accurate in that like the every coach, right? Every team, every whatever thing that's going on, you are like constantly stressed between I have these amazing players who can do these amazing things, but I also need them to buy into this like group structured collective idea where and usually that's framed out of possession, right? Like Mbappe, I need you to press. Dembele, I need you to press. But there's also like the in possession part of like, hey, I know you want to go drop and get the ball, but I need you to stay high for these other things. And it is really funny how like the best managers are constantly just like pulling the rope slack in some places and tight in others. And like you need some guys who are just going to stand like this with the rope on either side and they're just going to be like connectors. They're going to extend the rope. I don't know. It's a funny way to think about it that I think is very, very accurate. Yeah, I don't know. On the left winger thing, I don't have names. Like there's just not that many guys that I'm like, who do I want in here? Like if I say, okay, I want El Mala, but I want somebody a little bit older. Okay, well, I'm not buying Pulisic and I don't really want Pulisic. Endrick's not happening. Adeyemi just moved to Barcelona. I actually quite like Martinelli. I think Martinelli would be, um, if Arsenal tried to get too cute with like adding all these peak aged guys and had to pop off a young player, I might call and be like, can we do a deal on Martinelli? And Ciso we'll put aside for now. Rafinha, Rashford, you're not doing. This guy, I don't know. This Remy Labeau. I'm pretty sure Remy Labeau is Channing Tatum's character in Deadpool versus Wolverine. Remy Labeau. No. Let's go back to Remy Labeau. Decent vape. Not a lot of shots. Decent number of shots. Solid number of XG. Not a lot of creation. He's more of a shooty boy. But like this is no progression. Yeah, I don't know. Like this is like, who knows? I've never heard of this guy before. But you never know what fun things can come up. But like you're really hard coded like that the guy's got to be off the left. Yildiz I think is one that I'm like, ooh, I would be so into Yildiz, but the fee is just humongous now. Like you're not, there's no number that you're doing. There's no number that you're doing the Yildiz fee at. If you're like Juve, it's 150 million. Why would you? And like, yeah, Barcola I look at and I'm like, I would be so down for Barcola. But it's not happening. Like you're not getting it. I don't think anyways. I don't think you're getting it. Yeah. I don't think that deal is happening, but you never know. Should we even buy an attacker? Would you be fine if we mostly played a 3-4-3 and our attackers were like Jackson, Pedro, Palmer, Steve, Barco, Gittins, Kenda? I have said pretty repeatedly, I would not buy anyone. I would do nothing. I would only move out guys. And I would give Alonso a year and say, hey, I want to figure out. This is only his Champions League, which is going to be really bad. Why do they not have Eredivisie? I don't know. I would just take a year and be like, what did I learn about all these guys? And see, okay, a year from now, who do we like? Who do we not like? Who does Xabi Alonso actually not like? And just go from there. Like, whatever. I think you maybe need to add one or two bodies. Like, now that Andre's gone, you probably have to get a midfielder. But like, I would just wait a beat and just see. Ornstein tweeting that Villa are closing in on Manzambi. That's very funny. I did describe him as very Villa coded. Where did that go? I don't know. Yeah, Villa in process of finalizing. Villa are like super skint, so that I would bet this means somebody's going out. Sinner wins and beats the wife beater, so that's good. Yeah. Don't know who this guy is, sure. We'll see. We'll see. What do I think about Nusa? Nusa's weird though, because I am super skeptical of buying Leipzig players. I don't like buying Leipzig players. I'm too scarred by buying Timo Werner. There's just too many like weird Leipzig things about all the Leipzig guys. He also has already exploded his knee. It would be very price dependent. Like if it was cheap, I would probably do it, but it's not going to be cheap, and so I wouldn't do it. Um, a lot of people think Manzambi means Rodgers is gone. It's possible. It's possible. I don't know if it's like a lock, but it's possible. I don't really know how they could do. Well, I don't know. It's only one. It's only one deal. Transfer Feed is a good website if you want an aggregator of transfer rumors. Sure, I think that's a good one. Sure. Thank you for giving me the latest on Gennaro Acampora to Piacenza or whoever that is. Sure. Latest rumors: Estupinian, Rooney Bargy. On your Michael Edwards crush. On your Michael Edwards crush. What do you think he would do or be empowered to do differently to the incumbents? Sporting directors are tired of providing continuity, but on the move now as often as managers. So I think the big thing with Edwards, and I think the big thing with like Ashworth, who is another one that I would very happily take at Chelsea, is that I think a huge amount of the problem at Chelsea is like let's just go to the Chelsea staff directory. No. Like, can I? No, I want like administrative staff. I don't even want these guys. No. No. I want like sporting directors and stuff. I don't know where to find that. But I think a huge problem about I think a huge problem with Chelsea's flat hierarchy and the way things are set up right now is that you have all these different like competing parts that are all vaguely on the same level, and how you are allocating resources and how you are allocating resources and how you are allocating so this is whatever, like the directive and who is making the decisions on all of those ultimately right now comes down to the owners, where like you have this weird power struggle of like there are 5 directors all vaguely doing different things, but also there's a huge amount of overlap in the things they all do. And really it comes down to like who has Bedad's ear. And I think that's a real problem because now, like, picture a summer window, okay? In like March, you have, okay, like Joe Shields is saying, I think we should really do this in the summer. And Paul Winstanley says, I think we should do this in the summer. And they're all having meetings and like, yeah, we're aligned. Like we're in corporate alignment. But then you know that there's all these separate conversations with Bedat Iqbali because they all report directly into him, where yeah, this was the alignment of the meeting, but there's all like that. Well, this is my personal opinion, separate. And like I do this in my day job, right? Like where you'll talk to a VP and you'll be like, hey, like like I know this is like the thing, but like this is kind of where I think, and you try and put your thumb on the scale. That's the reality of life. And I think the thing that hiring someone like Edwards or Ashworth, and I think the thing particularly with Edwards that he has shown very clearly he can do, is like you need someone on top of that structure to manage and actually align all of those messages into one cohesive thing to ownership, so that there is actually a cohesive strategy, there is actually a cohesive allocation of resources, there is actually a cohesive plan, strategy, blah 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 blah, where you now have like ownership wants this, you have this like CEO, right? Like let's just call them the CEO because that would be above the directors. CEO. And that person is like translating ownership's wants into actual responsibilities for these people. But also like all the things those people want are filtered up. And now it's like a much clearer one-to-one. And I think like broadly Clear Lake's goal of, hey, we're gonna have so many subject matter experts in medical and analytics and blah 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 is all really, really good. But I think a huge problem with it is like there's just so many different remits and it becomes very, very hard to do anything cohesive. And this is where like you look every summer and there's like just four different things going on with every set of transfers. Guys coming in, guys coming out. Like you have the Garnacho deal, which is like, yeah, it's a buy low opportunity on we think that this is like a really nice rehab project that it's a good gamble, and if it doesn't work, we'll sell it really easily. But then also in the same window, you're going to go pay a premium fee for like a Joe Shields guy, and it's like, oh, those are very clearly two different director deals that have very different repercussions on what you want to do with the squad, and doing both of them makes no sense at all. Or you look at like the center backs. You're like, yeah, we're going to bring in Tosin, but we're also going to buy Disasi and Badishile. Or we're also going to go do this and that. And it's just like you have, and like Tosin is a Shields guy, but then you have the French guys from Lawrence Stewart. And it's like, well, where? Like, I just don't, it's just so like, no, like we're doing one thing here. And so I think the big thing with Edwards is, or Ashworth or whatever, is like, and the story that I've heard like pretty repeatedly about Ashworth in particular is like Ashworth is not like the great man theory recruitment guy who's going to find you the best players. No, he's going to run a very competent footballing sporting organization. That's the thing he does. Like if I recall correctly, a lot of Ashworth's hires were like ex like GB cycling guys. Because it's like, no, yeah, GB cycling is a very competent organization. Like it was less about football. It's like, yeah, we're gonna run a real sport. On Edwards, I think that the real appeal for Edwards to me is he very clearly wants to not be recruitment guy anymore. He very clearly wants to be top down, high level. I run football ops for multiple clubs. Chelsea very clearly want to own multiple clubs, or I guess Blueco clearly want to own multiple clubs. They already own one club. I think that's a really appealing place to be for him, and I think it's nice to have him, and I think he would streamline things underneath him considerably, and I think having an actual like top-down commitment to a data-driven approach would be tremendously valuable. Where like I think that as much as the private equity guys are data driven, right? And people can quibble with like I don't think Bedet Egbali is particularly competent at this. I don't think Todd Bowley is particularly competent at this either. I do think that they're largely data driven people in that like, yeah, they want this because like that's what private equity is, right? But I don't think they're actually like committed to it becoming the backbone of decision making processes at the club at all. And that I think is the real problem where like you do have genuinely some of the world's best analytics practitioners at the club. But they're not like recruitment people and they're not like on pitch people. They are like analytics department people. They build tools, they build models, they run back end of data storage. Like they're like data people. They're not football people who use data. And I think actually the number of football people who use data at the club is quite low. At least that's my view from where I'm sitting 8 hours away. And I think with someone like Edwards or like someone like Ashworth, I think you would have a lot more people who are no, this is explicitly a thing that we are doing. Where I don't know. You look at the managerial hires like Yeah, Alonso I think is a home run higher. And the data would support that, but like I don't think anyone would have looked at Rossignol or Maresca and been like, yeah, the data supports hiring these guys. I don't I just there's no world to me. Um and you look at a lot of the recruitment and like we've gone through the list of we've done this before, right? Like if you go through the list of all the transfers that happen and you're like, yes, this is a transfer that is very clearly supported by the data. It's like Kenda and Omega, yeah, I guess. Garnacho, yes. Estevao, sure. Like Asugo probably pops because like super high similarity score to guys like um very high similarity score to Caicedo. So if you're like, yeah, we need a guy to back up Caicedo, like I can totally see it. Dewsbury Hall, sure. Even though that one I know for a fact is a Maresca one. Um, like none of these guys, like Vega didn't pop on. Everybody's like Vega's a data science. Vega did not pop on anything statistically. That's a pure scouting win. Um, and you just go through and you're like, I don't. And like, did data tell me to spend 130 million on the two most obvious best midfield players on the market? I don't know. And Kunku probably a data win, but also again, like he had a low release clause and was obviously good. I don't know. Jackson is probably a data win. Petrovic, a data guy. Like there's just not that many, and so it's very hard for me to say like, yeah, they're doing this. Um, and AP says problem with incompetent or Doomscroller says they seem data illiterate, or at the very least don't know where the line is between what needs data and what needs the eye test. I mean, again, I explicitly like don't think they're using data in their decision making processes that much. Like eye test data, whatever. Like I explicitly don't think they're doing it that much. Shreyas Raman says reminds me of a house where the roommates don't cook together and don't share ingredients, so you end up with 4 bottles of sriracha in the fridge. Explicitly, that's so perfect. AP says the problem with incompetent people doing data-driven decision-making in football is that it's very easy to skew football data to say what you want to say. I mean, the counterpoint that I would make is it's very easy to watch players and say and take whatever you want away from it. Like it's very easy to go watch Romeo Lavia's Southampton season and be like, "Wow, look at this guy," and like he's not that guy. Like it's all this is the thing, right? It's all data. Games you watch, stats on the fucking screen, like it's on a spreadsheet. It's all data. The like scouts can do whatever they want, right? Like I watched him in the warm up and he like didn't take his warm up seriously, or like he ignored his girlfriend walking down the like again, you want to talk about this if you want the Moneyball reference, like unironically scouts used to be like this guy's not a good prospect because he has an ugly girlfriend. Like that was unironically a thing that happened. So like really the sentence should be the problem with incompetent people is they're bad. That's the whole story. Is like whether they're competent or whether it's data, whether it's video, whether it's in person, whether it's like shaking a magic 8 ball. If they're incompetent, they're incompetent. That's the whole thing. The directors probably find a guy, then ask a data guy to justify it to the others. I go kind of like how I used to fudge my data to fit the conclusion I want in lab reports. I know for a fact that this has happened with at least one player. I know for a fact that this has happened at Chelsea. And this is what I'm saying. Like, great. Sure, I can do whatever I want. Oh, do I think Asugo stays now since we don't really have another screener? Or do you think we buy one to replace Andre? I think Asugo definitely stays. Definitely stays. Yeah, definitely stays is my feel. All right. Not Gittins. Cucurella is the player. I don't know why I was being cryptic. Cucurella is the player I heard. The Chelsea were like, we want Cucurella because Man City want Cucurella. and then they were like, uh, "Hey, we want this guy. Justify it." And then they like made a report to be like, "Yeah, Cucurella does a lot of tackles or whatever." I'm sure it's happened with other players. Um, do I think Win Stanley is incompetent, or is he just trying to juggle the politics within running the club? Um, Matt Law said he's highly rated in the industry. I think none of the individual directors at Chelsea are as bad as the collective has been. I don't think Win Stanley is like amazing. I don't think Lawrence Stewart is amazing. But I have spoken to people who know both of them, including one person who knows Lawrence Stewart very well. And they're all like, no, these guys really know ball. Like, these guys are very good. And I think it's entirely, and like, I've heard amazing things about Dave Fallows and Joe Shields, as much as there's some like Nepo baby stuff going on with Joe Shields. Like, he did create like a legitimately very good academy in South London. And like a lot of the coaches that have come through there are very well respected. Like, as much as we have problems with him stuffing the academy with his guys, a lot of his guys are actually quite well rated. They might be out for themselves, but like as coaches, I don't think they're like all bad coaches or anything. Like, I think all of these guys have talent, if you want to call it that, talent. But like, I don't think I think they are all better than the collective has been. But this is, again, comes back to the point that I'm making. Like, I kind of thought Chelsea were going to do with sporting directors what they were doing with players. Where like, yeah, we're gonna buy 4 dice rolls, and eventually one's gonna win out, and then we'll get rid of the other ones. I thought that would happen with the sporting directors. Like, they brought in Vivel, they brought in Win Stanley, they brought in Lawrence Stewart, and I thought they're gonna be like, hey, these are 3 guys who are like waiting for their shot at a big club. We're gonna take all 3 of them, and after 2 years, we're gonna know which one of them is good, and he's gonna get the shots, and the other 2 are gonna go. Like, that's what I thought would happen, and then they didn't do that at all. They just kept them all. So I don't know. Like, that to me doesn't. I don't know. Just it just doesn't make sense. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what to do with that. But no, I don't think any of them are that bad. But I think they've all been worse. The sum of their parts has been worse than them individually. Because there's a lot of overlap. There's a lot of things there. Thoughts on Setpayev as the left attacking mid and Shabby is 3 at the back? I would be shocked if Setpayev plays real minutes this year, but you never know. I would be shocked. There's got to be a way to like. Is there a way to like get like the biggest guys? Because I don't care about trending players. Let's do that. Marcus Leonardo moved. That happened. Kachuk was going to Galatasaray for basically what Burnley paid for him. So like, that's fine. That's an interesting set of players for Garnacho, or an interesting set of teams. Roma, Al Nasser, Atleti, Napoli. Back to United would be funny. I don't know. I don't know. I think one of the things that like has to be very, very clear in a football hierarchy is like, who is accountable for what. I think it is, when you have so many guys, it is just so easy for people to hide behind other decisions and whatever, that you're just gonna get slop. You're just gonna get slop. It's like having 2 managers. Like, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Topic says, seems like Iqbali's the blind guy living at the ranch and once upon a time in Hollywood being taken advantage of by the hippie cult. I think that strips Iqbali of a lot of accountability that I think he has to wear. I think Iqbali is certainly a part of this going this way. I would probably argue like he is a huge part of it. So I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much else to add. I think the big thing now is like we wait and see. We wait and see what Chelsea do with moves. I think there's going to be a lot more moves out than there are in. I think we'll start seeing them kind of come thick and fast, particularly as guys move post World Cup, and then we'll see. The first preseason game is the 28th, and then it's kind of like one every 3-4 days. But we'll see. Shirley Wynn Stewart are the ones with the most authority. No, they seem to be the most front facing. I mean, they're the most front facing, but I would say Shields probably has the most influence of all of them. But this is the thing, right? Like, depending who you talk to, like, this deal was that person or that deal was this person, and like, no, this person has the ear, and then 6 months later, no, that person has the ear, and then like, it's just a mess. Like, there's no clear thing. Somebody said talk about Kawhi coming back. I have my Grady Dick jersey on right now, actually, so I got to get more uses out of it before the trade's official. How have we allowed Villa to just take Manzambi? I don't think I'd pay the full freight on Manzambi, but he looked really good at the World Cup, so you never know. I think as like a left 10, he would have been quite fun. But I don't know. Am I more optimistic now than before the end of the last season? Yes, just because Xabi Alonso I think is a good hire, like better than. Well, I guess we hired him before the end of the season. Yeah, Chelsea charging for CFC Plus instead of getting a front of shirt sponsor is true innovation in the sport. Oh my God, can we just like for a second acknowledge that it's now been like 15 months with no shirt sponsor? Like, what? I truly, I don't like. I don't even have an analogy, but I don't understand. Like, I don't get it. Just take a shorter term deal and rehab it. Like, at this point, here are the things that Chelsea have done with their shirt sponsor since I think it was 3, right? Expired. So first off, they tried to get Paramount Plus and the league shut it down. In hindsight, totally bullshit. The league robbed them. Like that, I think in hindsight, like absolute ridiculous. So put that there. Second, they invested in a fake company to give them $50 million for a shirt sponsor. I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea how that passed any sniff test. We're like, yes, we are going to invest in this small, totally fake company that doesn't exist. Like, what do they do? Infinite Athlete. They merged with somebody. Now they're called, yeah. Like, what do they do? They don't do anything. What we do, athlete perform, they do tracking data. No, it's not even tracking data. It's like broadcast bullshit. But like, it doesn't do anything. They got bought. When did they get bought? They got bought in October. Great. I'm sure they made so much money on that. And I'm sure they were so happy to spend £50 million. So you have that. Then you have nobody until we get sponsored by a Emirati luxury real estate developer paying $1 million per game to sell apartments in Dubai. Like, oh my God, what are we doing here? And now we have nothing. I don't understand. Like, again, I just don't. We have a fucking official AI legal partner or whatever as our sleeve. We have 98 sleeve sponsors. We have sponsors for like our fucking the grated cheese in the canteen. We have the official coffee cream sponsor of the Chelsea Academy building. We have an official sponsor of the stud tightening tool used by the Kitman. We have an official sponsor for the fucking like sprinkler system. We don't have a front of shirt sponsor. It's truly not that hard. I don't understand. I don't get it. My men's league team had a shirt sponsor. We got a local bar to give us $500 because he knew we would go every game and spend more than that. I don't understand. We had a shirt sponsor for men's league. I don't get it. And somebody said I thought it was going to be that circle thing. Yeah, that's what I'd heard. I heard like pretty aggressively that it would be. I heard pretty aggressively that it was going to be Circle Financial Group from like multiple people, and I don't know, didn't happen. Shock that the crypto finance exchange that didn't happen. How long would it take this stream and its viewers to come up with an AI company that could at least get to sleeve sponsor? Listen, bro, me and Claude do work. I bet you I'll agentic AI for football clubs. My agents are scouts. They're scouring the globe. They're finding players. Agentic AI recruitment. Chelsea, hire me. I'll sell it to you. Front of shirt crying is pretty boring. I mean, so you tell me, Perfect Man 3077, would you rather have Andre Santos at your team and have like Trivago on your kit for 2 years? Or have no Andre Santos on your team and a bare shirt? I don't know. It's a fair question. Would I rather have bought Bradley Barcola and have had to wear like, I don't know, some shitty spot? I don't care. I don't care. The aspiration playbook. Gun Memory Project says apparently you can upload your own trainings and it gets analyzed by their systems for scouting. No, that's different. That's AI Scout. That's like a little thingy they do at the academy. That's a different thing. We talked about that with Chelsea Youth last summer. Yeah, I don't know. I think they want a long-term partner. Last season was a total disaster for that strategy. And I would like to marry Scarlett Johansson or Dua Lipa, but at some point you have to acknowledge the realities of the situation and make the best with what you've got. And much like me, Chelsea don't have a lot right now. So you got to work with it and do the best you can. That's what I have to say. Dua Lipa is not paying you £60 million to be on the front of your shirt. I am sorry. It's not happening. And Jeremy Dorrance is not getting the deal done during the Champions League season is criminal negligence. And I said this so explicitly at the beginning of the season. Hey, this is a huge red flag that the preseason started and they didn't have a sponsor done. Kier, they're both married. I know, I mourned Dua Lipa's marriage. It was so sad. But then I watched a movie with her new husband, and it was not bad. Yeah, I don't know. I think if they'd gone back-to-back Champions League, they would have gotten a quite good sponsor. But, like, again, just like, you didn't. So, do what you got to do. You're not realizing the level of player power in the sport. Barcola would have never come here regardless of the money. I mean, Barcola literally almost came here. So I don't really know how to square that circle. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Makes sense to do a 1-year deal this season with no Europe. One thing I have heard is that actually doing the short-term deals is quite difficult. Because for them, they're like, well, we don't really want to sink 20 million into this if it's like 1 year and there's no permanence to it and then it goes away, and like they'd rather have like the multi-year kind of momentum to it. Um, and I think particularly the teams who are the companies who are coming in and offering them lower numbers are like, they're like, no, we know we're probably getting in at a low number right now. We'd rather lock up multiple years. Like I understand where that's coming from. Um, would you have rather kept Tyreek George last season and spent 85 million on Burkle instead of spending 100 million on Gittins and Garnacho? I mean, objectively, yeah, obviously. Um, Craig McCorkle says, bet a pint on the next time I'm at the bridge that the deal is done before the season starts. Yeah, I don't know. I have no reason to think it's not, but I'll take your bet. I do think there is like a weird thing in the sponsorship market, and Perfect Man says the front shirt market's not good. There's a reason why 3 or 4 sponsors are betting companies. I think there is a real thing in the sports advertising space that like it's just all gambling now. And I think teams are pretty weary about like one, these like dodgy non major country betting companies, but also like there's no reason for DraftKings or whatever, or Bet365 or William Hill to put their name on the front of a kit. Like everybody knows who they are. You know what I mean? So I kind of, I don't know. Sports advertising is weird. Doomscroller, gambling and AI. That's the economy, baby. That's the economy. Is it not possible to structure deals contingent upon Champions League, kind of like how we do with wages? I guess companies don't want to deal with uncertain cash flows. Yeah, there's certainly, I don't know, I'm sure there's escalators and stuff like that. Like I know when Chelsea had Samsung, they had like bonuses for team achievement and stuff like that. But I don't think it's like a base rate. It's like a bonus. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Let's talk some World Cup stuff. So I went to Canada, Switzerland, in Vancouver, which was really fun. Um, the and this will be like a not very data section. It'll just be like pure emotions, pure passion merchant. So I went to Canada, Switzerland, and Vancouver, and so let me pull up the map to show like how they had this set up. Let me pull this up. Okay. Trying not to dox my address anymore. Okay, so this is the Whitecap Stadium. Okay, they play. It's a really really nice arena. Great. It's a really nice arena. They have like 55,000 seats, and it's super nice venue to watch soccer at. They put in grass. It's great. It's like super accessible by transit. There's like 5 SkyTrain, which is like their version of a subway, stations around it. For the World Cup, they like closed them all and made everyone get off at Science World, which is like this big like this thing. They also like turned this into a for the World Cup. They turned this into the match ball, which was cool. And so yeah, this was like the World Cup match ball. So you like walked up and it was pretty dope. And yeah, you kind of walked all the way along and then you marched all the way up. You kind of like marched along here underneath the highway up to the arena, up to the stadium. And it was so, for me, it was like very, very emotional. Where when I was a kid, I had to beg my friends to watch Canada games. We would go to like really shitty, really shitty sports bars like called Kelsey's and Boston Pizza that suck like so bad. And we would have to beg like one waitress to be like, "Can we have one TV in the corner showing Canada Mexico? It's on like TSN 18, which is like ESPN in Canada. It's on TSN 18. Canada Soccer had to pay TSN to put the games on TV." And we would go watch, and the TV they'd give us would be like a broken one that the color was like slightly green, and like it'd be like, "Yeah, we're playing Mexico at home, and if you win, you get like you have a chance to qualify for the Hex, which is like the second round of qualifying in CONCACAF qualifying." I had to beg my friends, and Canada would inevitably lose like 4-0, and they'd be like, "We're not going to watch soccer with you anymore. Like you're wrong. These guys suck." And now, like the World Cup is on, and those exact same people are begging. They're like, "How do I get tickets? How do I go? Bro, this is so awesome. I'm watching every game. Like, I'm going to the watch party. I'm going to the fan zone. Like, I'm bringing my friends. I'm bringing my wife. I'm bringing my kid." Like, everybody's so down. And so I'm walking along, and I took my dad to the game, and I'm kind of walking along, and I ran into Quinn, who played for the women's national team for a long time. They played for Seattle Reign and NWSL. Quinn and I played for the provincial team at the same time. And Quinn is trans, was born a woman, is non-binary, used to play for the national team, hasn't been in the national team for a few years now. And I ran into Quinn and their family and was like, "Hey, you definitely don't remember me. We used to play provincials together, but like, fucking, how cool is this?" And they were like, "This is so amazing to see the support in the country." And we're walking along, and it is legit 50,000 Canadian people singing the anthem, chanting players' names. Everybody has red on. You have Canada soccer jerseys, you have Canada hockey jerseys, you have Canada basketball jerseys, you had Crosby jerseys, you had Steve Nash, you had Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, you had Blue Jays jerseys, you had like everything Canadian. And there were white people and black people and Indian people and Chinese people and Japanese people and indigenous people and Hispanic people, and every like Canada is an extremely multicultural country, Vancouver especially, and you had people of every color and creed and nation and religion, immigrant, permanent resident, citizen, born here, not born here, everybody going mental to go watch Canada game. We took the train into the city for my dad's place, and we're on the train, and there's like this pack of like hooligan children, like 12 to 14-year-old boys, and they're having like an extreme disagreement about whether Jonathan David is better than Breland Bolo. And I'm like, "Oh my god," like, and they're like, "No man, Jonathan David is way better than Mbolo. Like he's so nice, bro. Like he's so good." And they're like, "He's him. Jonathan David has aura," like all the kid things. But they're talking about this so adamantly. And it was and they didn't have tickets to the game. They were just going to watch it like a watch party or something. And it was just like so crazy. And then you go into the stadium, and it's an amazing venue. And the anthem comes on, and the anthem is just like pure crack. Like the Canadian anthem, I think, is a pretty good anthem. Like it's a very singable anthem. And the players all sing it pretty hard. And like I'm looking at guys like Kyle Larin and Richie Laray that like I played with, who are my age, that like played against for 10 years, and they're singing the anthem of a home World Cup. And I'm like, even talking about it now, like I'm getting goosebumps talking about it right now. Like it was incredibly emotional for me. And they lose the game, but they play quite well. And I will say, from when they scored for 2-1, for the 15 minutes they are chasing, it was the single loudest venue I have ever been at in my entire life. Not close. It was louder than the Stadio Olimpico. It was louder than Wembley. It was louder than Old Trafford. It was louder than Anfield. It was significantly louder than Stamford Bridge. It was louder than the World Cup, any of the games I went to in Russia. It was by far the loudest environment I have ever been in for any sporting event, hands down, not close, gone. And we went to every city has kind of their thing. So after the game, we walked up to Granville, which is like, so we kind of like walked out to Yaletown. There's like a lot of like bars and stuff going on around here, and everything was closed basically, and it was just like nope, pedestrian only. And so we walked all the way up to kind of the main to Granville Street, which is like one of the main like young person going out streets, and literally they closed off the entire street the whole way along. People on patios watching games, Brazilians, Mexicans, Swiss, Canadian, everybody just out and about, so about it. And it was just awesome. It was like, oh my God, this is like Craig McCorkle says straight to Roxy's. Roxy slaps. You've been to Vancouver if you know Roxy's. And yeah, it was just like immense. It was immense, 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 immense. And then I went to I went to so I went there and then I drove back down to the US and I ended up going to LA for the Canada South Africa game. And I was like I had some things with my visa that I had to be back in the States. So like if they played the next game in Canada, I couldn't have gone. But it was in LA and LA is pretty close to Nevada. So I was like, you know what, I'll go. So I bought my ticket pretty last minute. I and I like got a last minute flight down and did the whole thing. And I I went down to LA and I went and watched the game, and the game was incredible in LA. And I was shocked that the stadium was legitimately 65% Canadians or 60% Canadians. And then like a big proportion of Mexicans, because that game could have been Mexico, South Korea, I think, or and tickets weren't bad because it was supposed to be Korea, so prices dropped very, very quickly. And yeah, so I went to LA and like again, same deal. Like I got there super early and like there's so many Canadians and like I'm talking with people and they're like, yeah, I flew down from Saskatchewan, I flew down from Vancouver, I flew down from Toronto, I drove down from Vancouver, like I'm here, and if we go to Houston, I'm going to Houston. And like you have all these people and everybody's like, man, I'm just really proud of this team and these guys. And they play so well against South Africa, like so comfortable, so smart defensively, like they manage the game so well, they manage their emotions so well. And then Alfonso Davies comes on and like the crowd pop was crazy when he came on. Particularly when like his first action is an insane pass, like straight into the front line. Clearly could not run, but like great first pass. And then when Eustachio scores, like absolute pandemonium. Like I will never forget for the rest of my life the ball sitting up and like literally I was sat in like one of the Canadian fan sections and there were like two guys, a guy and his dad from Alberta next to me. And literally you could hear from like 1,000 people as it like popped up and as he hits it, just fucking the exhale and people going mental and truly, truly like unbelievable scenes. Beers in the air, whatever, people going nuts. And then you have like, it was like 91 and you have like 5 minutes left to just see it out. And the referee blows full time and I wept. I like sat on, I had like the first row of like one of the middle bowls and I like sat on the floor and wept. Like legit cried real tears. Just of like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And all the Canadian supporters came down. They have like a supporters group called the Voyageurs that travel, and kind of everybody left the stadium and went to like a bar that is owned by a Canadian guy near the stadium in LA. If I go to like SoFi Stadium and we do the same thing. It's like also SoFi, unbelievable stadium, by the way. So like you have like this is here. They turned this whole thing into the fan zone, all up here, and you kind of like walk up to it. But then down here you have like Cosm, which is one of those things. It's like the Sphere, so you can watch the game up close. But there's like this place here, is a bar owned by a Canadian guy. So it's like a big patio. So Canadians just took over this whole thing. There was like 1,000 Canadians in here. And Top Dog says, I wept too because I'm South African. This explains how you've been such a prick today. And yeah, and then it was just like all the Canadians stayed and partied and watched, and kind of went through the whole thing. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to Houston as well. And so I went to Houston, and I can't remember. I think it's called the Reliant Stadium. Another incredible venue. Houston's really cool. Like very, very fun downtown. I stayed downtown. A Canadian guy I work with ended up coming down, and we made a whole thing out of it, which was quite fun. And, you know, like I went into the game with zero expectation. Like I was like, we're going to lose. Like Morocco are way better than us. We are going to lose. And I had no expectations. The night before we went to like a bar with a bunch of the Canadian fans, and everybody was like, we're probably going to lose. But to me, there's a 15% chance that we win. And it is like one of the most historic moments in Canadian sporting history. Gun Memory Project says, did you fly to all these places? I drove to Vancouver from Nevada. So I like, if you, let's go just quickly. So like, I live here. So I drove like this. I drove up, and then I went into Oregon, and then I went into Crater Lake here, which is like this really cool lake. It's like an old volcano. It's like the bluest water. And then I drove up, and then I drove out to the Oregon coast, and then I went all the way up, and then I went into Portland, and then up through Seattle to Vancouver, and then I drove all the way back down, and then I flew to LA and flew to Houston. So where did Houston go? New Mexico, Chihuahua, Houston. Where are you, Houston? And then, so all the Canadians are like, we're going to lose, but there's a chance. There's a chance we don't lose. I don't even know. I can't remember where the stadium is now. I think it was like up here somewhere. And it was like, there's a chance we don't lose. And if we do, it's like the most famous moment in Canadian sporting history, right? Like it's just this incredible, incredible moment. And so you got -110 on Morocco to win. That's much more even than I thought. No, there's no way. The betting markets are way more on Morocco. So we go, and the first half goes so well. It was like the most perfect, the hope will kill you thing, where everybody at halftime was like, no, I know, I still have to believe we're going to lose because like we've played so well, like we're going to lose. And then you concede the backbreaker set piece goal, and then you chase, and you don't really create anything on the chase. But again, at the end of it, it was like, was like a really, really beautiful run. It was a lot of fun. And so then that night, it was like July 4th, so we went out and watched fireworks for July 4th, and we ended up in downtown Houston at a place called Clark's. I don't think it was that. No, it's not Clark's Oyster Bar. It was called this place. So it was right next to this place. So we ended up on this main street where there's like a whole bunch of bars. Okay. So we went to whatever. So we ended up at all these little bars, and we went into this place, which the front sign, it says Clark's, but it's called Houston backwards. And it's this very weird bar, and there's like multiple layers, and they're like, you got to buy a drink and then you can go up a layer, and every layer you buy a drink, you can go up, and you end up at this top layer, and it's all art installations. And I'm hanging out in there chatting with these Bosnian guys about like Bosnian football, and they're like shocked that I'm like, oh yeah, Mo Besic and whatever. And I'm standing, and I'm wearing my Canadian jersey, and Promise David walks in, and I'm like, what the fuck? And Promise David walks up, and he's like, nice jersey, bro. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, man, like, hi, and whatever, and kind of like walks out. And I walk back into the main room from one of these art installations, and like half of the Canadian squad is there. All the young guys. Promise David, Daniel Hussein, Owen Good, like lots of guys. Not Davies, not David, not either the guys that I played with, which I was kind of disappointed about, but a lot of the young guys. And it has now become like the Canadian bar. All the Canadian fans are there. And so it's like 1:30, 2 o'clock. I'm like, all right, my flight's at like 7 a.m. Like, I got to go back to my hotel. I'm going to be dead. And so I go up to Promise, and I'm like chatting with some of these players for like kind of 5 minutes, but I'm like trying to be like, they just lost a World Cup. Like, I'm going to let them do their thing. I don't want to be weird. And I'm talking with some of the coaches that I know and whatever. And on my way out, I like go up to Promise David, and it's like Promise David, Daniel Hussein, and somebody else are sitting next to each other. I can't remember who it was. Dane St. Clair, the goalie. And so I go, hey man, like, I just wanted to say congratulations to you guys. Like, what you achieved was something very special. And Promise David goes, man, fuck out of here. We lost. And I was like, listen. I was like, okay, listen. I'm going to buy you a beer. I'm going to buy all of you guys a beer. And in exchange, you are going to let me talk for 5 minutes. And they're laughing. And I'm like, I'm dead serious. And so I go and I buy them all a beer. And I go, listen. And I tell them the story that I have just told all of you over the last 15 minutes. About going to fucking shitty sports bars with my friends and like begging people to watch Canada play and like talking about San Pedro Sula where like Canada lost 8-1 to Honduras and all they needed was a draw and losing to Mexico at BC Place and drawing fucking El Salvador and never, ever, ever beating the US or Mexico. And I talk about going to Hamilton to watch the US beat Canada in like minus 20 degrees Celsius. And I talk about the World Cup, qualifying for the World Cup. And I talk about this journey. And I talk about taking my family to the game. And I talk about the national anthem. And I tell them all of this. And I say to them, at the end of the day, like, it does not matter about the result. Because from now on, soccer in Canada is different now. The expectations are different. The goals are different. What you have achieved is different. The way kids look at this and think about this and the presence that it occupies in the public's mind is different now. And like, I promise you 20 years from now, when you are 44 and your career is over, you will not care that you lost to Morocco, and you will care that things are different now because of you. So I say congratulations and I say thank you in earnest, because even though you lost today, you have changed things. And all I can say for that is thank you. And you could tell that the young guys did not get it. It did not work at all for the young guys. As much as I was like, I've nailed this. I was also very drunk. Did not hit for the young guys. But you could see some of the older coaches who like have been around, because like Canada has kept a lot of the staff in the national team program for a long time. They got it because they were there. They knew what it was like. Mauro Biello knew what it was like. And so to me, that was like a very, very cool moment. And I walked back to my hotel in the like disgusting, scorching heat. Because even at 2 a.m., it's like 100% humidity and disgusting, disgusting heat in Houston. And I took a flight back to Nevada the next day. The other fun thing that happened was the other thing that happened was after the game, when I was in my hotel before we went out for dinner, I was having a coffee in the lobby, and I had a Canada hat on and my kid on, and there was like 3 older Moroccan gentlemen, like probably like late 50s to like early 70s. I would probably put them at, like older. And they were like, brother, come here, brother. And so I go over and they were like, man, what a team you guys have. You played like lions. And we sat and talked about like Morocco and Canada and like, just all these cool things. And I was like, there was like a moment early in the second half where it was 1-0 and like Canada were were pressing and like pressed all the way back to the goalkeeper, and it was like oh, here, and it ended up being like pop, pop, pop round the corner into Hakimi, who's like flying back heel, flicked one around the corner, and Morocco broke into the Canadian box. And I remember when it happened, I was like, "Fuck! If you lose, you lose. Like we can't do that. That's ball." And I brought that up to the Moroccan guys, and they were like, "Man, it was so nice." And it was like we had this like half an hour conversation, and the Moroccan guys go like, we've been exchanging things with all the fans we've met. We came for the whole tournament. Can we give you a Morocco hat? And so I gave them my Canada hat, and they gave me a red Morocco hat with the green star. So I have it in the other room now. And I was like, for all the like consternation about match ticket prices, and like my ticket for I will say like my ticket for Canada Morocco was exorbitant. Um, like I paid for a very nice seat, but I'll put it on my I'll put it here. Like this was my seat. Like I had an amazing spot, but it was like a $900 American ticket. Like it was extremely expensive. Um, and Bad Rabbit says go and get the hat. Hold on. All right, I'll get the hat. Give me a sec. Okay, so I traded a hat like this. I had two of them because I brought one down for my buddies. So I traded a hat, just a bucket hat, and it says Canada and whatever, for just a very plain Morocco hat. And it was very, very cool. It was just like a really awesome. It was a really like cool cultural exchange. And this is the point that I wanted to make is like the World Cup and FIFA and everything about them is like corrupt, and ticket prices were insane, and like it was $28 for a beer at a game, and all of these things are true. But at the end of the day, the World Cup simply does not miss. Like the stories will always be good. The ball will always be good. There will always be underdogs. There will always be favorites. There will always be narratives. The cultural exchange will always be good. Everything about the World Cup is it's impenetrable to the grift. You cannot beat it. And yeah, it was a really, 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 really fun moment. And there's a lot of people saying like the players aren't going to get it in the moment, and it's true. Like it was 6 hours after they lost, and they'd had like 4 beers at a bar. Like of course they're not going to get it in the moment, but I hope for like some of the younger guys, like I hope at some point like it hits for them. Not for me, but I hope they just feel at some point like yes, you lost, but you did achieve something very, very special. And I was really hoping I would see Kyle and Richie because I haven't seen them in, I don't know, 16 years, 14 years or whatever. And yeah, I don't know. So we'll see. Canada team feels like the 2014 USMNT, some talent, but overall a plucky, vibesy bunch. Like the US, every cycle the talent pool improvement, so expectation for sure. I sit beside a British Palace fan at a bar to watch Canada Morocco, and he spent like 20 minutes bitching about Glasner. That's quite funny. Gum Memory Project went to Germany, Ivory Coast. That's a fun game to go to. Who do you think makes the final and ultimately wins it all? So I think if we look at like what did I want to do? I was gonna pull up the Footy app on my phone, but I don't really want to stream my phone because you never know what's gonna pop up. So I mean, if you look at the stretch, right, like Spain have been just very competent the whole way. France have been, I think, the best team by a distance. I think the question is going to be like, can France, but like in not in defense of France, like France have also had like a pretty soft route. Like their group was not very good. Well, their group was good. Norway are legit, but like, and Senegal are real, but they Norway threw the last game, Senegal imploded, and Iraq. I think it was Iraq. Sweden not good, Paraguay not good, Morocco had faded physically and also like totally had a horrible game against them. Like they've had a pretty soft route the whole way. Spain have had like the Portugal game deserved win, Belgium game deserved win, even though it's like kind of a fluke that they get the goal they did. I think France are better, but I think there's lots of worlds where Spain turned this game into like a kind of nasty game, and France have a hard time with that. I would pick France to win though, because I do think they're the best team. On the other side of that, England, Argentina, I think England will wax Argentina. Argentina have not been good the whole way. Like, struggled against Cape Verde, which, by the way, super fun game to watch. I watched that at a bar, and people were like, every time Vozinha made a save, the whole bar would scream, Vozinha! Like, it was a ton of fun. You win off of, like, some true tomfoolery. Egypt, you get a lot of help from what I think are ultimately some correct refereeing decisions, but you get a lot of help, and then they melt down. Enzo Fernandez clutch gene comes in. Switzerland, again, I think the referee gets the crucial decision right, and then you win in extra time. Fine. And then, oh, that's funny. They have the rowing. And then you have England, Argentina. On the England side, I think England have also looked very competent. Like the Congo game you look at and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe blah, 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 blah. But like the Congo game is like mostly a smushing the whole way. Like they give up one really good chance. And other than that, like just very competent, do your job. The Mexico game, again, they take the red card and it's just like they give up XG by like volume after the red card, but like they create 3 really good chances, including the penalty, they score. And then the Norway game, again, like I don't think they even played particularly well in this game, but again, just like very competent. England and Spain are very similar to me. And so I would take the final probably to be France-England. My betting interest is that it be Spain-Argentina, but I would bet the final is France-England, and I would bet France win again. Yeah, I think, I don't know. Argentina just have like no guys, man. Like every time the subs come on and they get so much worse. Whereas England, I think, have like actual subs who are very helpful for them. Any shouts for the player who moves for way too much money based mostly off the World Cup? Elliot Anderson. No. I think Kone's like I think there's a world where pre-World Cup you could have gotten Kone in like a Garnacho thing. I don't think that's particularly likely now. Who moves for too much money because of the World Cup? I don't know. Maybe like Sheldrup or something. Maybe like Sheldrup. Or, I mean, Manzambi is moving for a lot of money because of the World Cup. Like, if Manzambi hadn't had such a good World Cup, he's not moving for 50. I'll tell you that. Roshan says England have been fine, but Elliot Anderson has not been having 100 million World Cup. I'll say that much. Yeah, I think that's actually an interesting one because I said a few months ago, like, I was like, yeah, I have Elliot Anderson as like a Gallagher-sized fee. And then he moved for 130, and I was like, this is crazy. I think my feel after watching him definitely much more closely in the World Cup than I did like at Forest. Like it probably the same total number of minutes, but much more detailed here. He's definitely better than a 50 million midfielder. The dude can pass, and the dude can hang for sure. But I also feel more strongly than I did before that he's not a 130 million midfielder. Like he's a 70 million guy nailed on. That's where I have him. Roel Martin says Buati, and Perfect Man says Buati was being pumped. I think Buati had a very poor World Cup. I thought he really, really struggled, and I thought Morocco got better every time he came out. Like when Buati came out for El Mourabet against who did they beat? In the I think it was the Netherlands game. Like they just got so much better as soon as he came out. And I don't know. I don't really see it with Buati, but like again, it's the same thing, right? Where if you're as young as he is, playing as many high leverage minutes as he is, he's probably going to end up being very good. That's just the reality of that profile. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's been a very fun World Cup. And I also quite like that we had all the fun underdog stories, but we still ended up with the semifinals being like chalk. Like we got it's the best guys. And that to me is quite satisfying. Where like, yeah, we got all the underdog stuff and we got the best big games that we wanted. I think this World Cup has like mostly gone perfectly, man. Pretty perfect. Pretty perfect. Yassine looks good from a Strasbourg point of view. Which Yassine? Is he a Strasbourg guy? I didn't know that. Oh yeah, we did. We talked about him. Yeah, we talked about him. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right, give me. We've been going for 2 hours and 40 minutes. We will go for 20 more minutes and then we're done. So hit me with whatever you want to talk about last. Sham Sharania. Alpha Diallo signed a deal. By the way, you want to talk NBA for a second? This is the most clear cap circumvention ever. Just putting it out there. Yeah, what else? What else is going on? Tuchel saying he didn't think the players played that well, but he's really happy with their mentality is awesome. I really love that. I think that's exactly the right way to approach it. I thought that was cool. Most of the superstars showed up in a way they don't always. Holland, Messi, Mbappe, Bellingham, Kane, all being great is good for the sport. Totally agree. Yeah, the best players being the best players has been really helpful. Balogun somehow nuking his reputation. He didn't even do anything. Balogun situation, the only big stain. Thoughts on Balogun links? I think the Balogun links are not real. I think the Balogun links are not real. I think he's very unfortunate because it is a red card, and that FIFA bent to corrupt pressure is unfortunate for him. I also think it was actually like a pretty big detriment to. Why is Seb tweeting about Lindsey Graham? I don't even want to know. I think that it actually was like a pretty big detriment because they had like really good vibes before that, and then it's just such a vibe killer. But what are you gonna do? Have I heard of Barney Stewart? I went to school and he just got a move to West Brom. No, I don't. I don't know Barney Stewart. Plays for Falkirk and Dunfermline, but 22. 6 goals in 11 matches for Dunfermline and Harriet Watt University. That's cool. Let's see, West Brom, 1.3 million. Sure. Where do I think Chelsea finishes next season? I mean, I'd be curious to see what the odd makers have right now. Top 5 odds. As of today. Go away. I mean, they have Chelsea as 5th by odds by like a lot, which is probably right. I think this is right. I think these are the right odds. Spurs, they really like Spurs' window. Wow, that's really steep. Spurs, same odds as Villa is interesting. But Spurs will have no European ball, and De Zerbi's a good coach, so maybe. Spurs' transfer window is pretty insane. Like if we just go look at the deals they've done already. Sir Tottenham. Yeah, they I would not have done. Oh, okay, sure. All right, sure. Tottenham Hotspur, all transfers. All right, transfer market has said you're done. You're done, boy. Yeah, I don't know. They've spent a lot of money on a lot of guys. All right, cool. I guess not. If they get Leao too, I'm like, I don't know what that's about, but we'll see. Krupi is really good, but I think the fee is going to be insane. I think the fee is going to be pretty bonkers, but he's very good. Charles de Ketelaere has earned himself some new fans. How do I see Mourinho at Real going? I think he will implode before the end of the season. But I don't know. You know, like France are being amazing, partially because Mbappe has been so much less selfish than usual. Like he's been so much more willing to press and defend and run off the ball. And I wonder if there is a world where like that permanently rubs off on him and he's like, yeah, we're good. Like I'm going to do this all the time. But I think like Vinicius I don't really like Vinny Jr. at all. And so I think that's like a really hard attacking room to manage. And make like a viable defensive thing. And Jose tactically has just like not been that guy for a while. So I don't know. I think that's a very difficult. I would bet it explodes or implodes, whatever you want to say. I think United will struggle with European ball, maybe, but I think they're going to spend a decent amount of money. So we'll see. Like getting Andre is like a really nice innings eater for multiple competitions. Van Hecke price is too high. Yeah, I totally agree. For 1 year left on that deal, like I liked Van Hecke as a potential move for us, but as soon as that was the price, I was like, no, I'm out. I'm out. Yeah, I wonder what actually it thinks of Krupi. Junior Krupi. Yeah, Krupi's nice. That boy nice. But I'm not paying 100 million. I can't get there. I can't get there. I can't get there. I can't get there. Yeah, where do Chelsea finish? I'd say I'd plug them into 5th with a high degree of confidence. 1 game a week, you can play all the guys. Like you'll be able to play your starters basically every game. I think you'll come 5th. When do I think Xabi Alonso is no longer the Chelsea manager? I think he gets 3 full seasons. Beyond that, I don't know, but I'm going to say at least 3 full seasons. What's my number for Lacroix? See what his contract year situation is. So he's contracted till 29, so he has 3 years. I don't know why Transfer Market has just called it a day. Problem is 5th might not be enough for Champions League next season. This year's clubs will tank the coefficient. No, it's almost It will be very difficult for England not to. They're just so much better than everybody else. Like Bournemouth will win the fucking Europa League probably. Like it just they're so much better than everybody else. And if you look at like the UEFA coefficient list, like if you look at it for last year, like England were so far ahead of everybody. Like it's not even close. So like I just yeah, I don't know. So Lacroix has 3 years left on his deal. He joined for 18 million. My number is probably like I think the 55 million euro number is a good number. Like I think that's a really appropriately valued number. Yeah, I mean Palace fans are like no, but I think 55 million euros is a good number. This is so funny. Palace fans are so mad. Why are they so mad all the time? Yeah, I think 55 million is a good number. I would say my upper limit is like 63 maybe. Like I'm not going that much above it. Any midfielders on your radar? The same guys that I always like. Well, so here's the thing. Chouamani's gone, right? So like that's gone. Onana blew his knee out, so Onana's gone. In that mold of like big guy who can pass and win the ball, like there's just not that many guys left. So I don't know. We'll see. But I don't know. Gonzalez from City is interesting. People like him a lot. He can pass. Does Camavinga become a thing? Does Felix Nemecha become a thing? Does Manu Kone become a thing? Does Angelo Stiller become a thing? Does Ezekiel Palacios become? I don't know. I would bet we buy a midfielder though. AP says is Kima Andres in a good. People like Kima Andres. He has pretty good data. But he's another one that has like the weird Madrid attachment stuff to him. But the boy can pass and he can win the ball a little bit. I am like somewhat skeptical though, because like the passing should be better for the Bundesliga. You know what I mean? Drogo is nice, but he's not like that mold of player. Thoughts on Gusto 75 million? If they get 75 million for Gusto, I will pay for a statue, but they won't. There's no world where that's the number. There's just no world where that's the number. What about left winger? I don't know. I just think I just don't want to spend a whole bunch of money. I just don't want to Can we just like wait a year and see what we do with these guys? Like I just want to wait and see like what is ranking? I just want to wait and see like what I get from some of these guys. Some of the guys we already have. Like, can you rehab Lavia at all? And Isugo at all? And Gittins at all? Like, I just want to wait a second. Also, if it's a 3, like, on the left winger thing, particularly if it's a back 3 and that left winger is a much narrower player, totally fine with it being Jackson. Totally fine with it being Jackson. And like you have Estevao who's going to play a lot. You have Palmer who's going to presumably play more than he did last year. You just added Kenda. You have Barco coming in. Like there's a lot of guys there. I don't know if you're really going to add someone there. What is my or João Pedro 10? I think from a I don't know. I think from a João Pedro Jackson thing, like I'd rather João Pedro 10, Jackson 9, because I think the interchange works better that way. Like João Pedro deep running beyond. Um, but I also didn't expect João Pedro to do what he did last season, so you never know. Um, I think you can interchange those guys a lot and have a lot of fun. But I also think you can see Palmer left 10. You can see Esteval left 10. I think you can see Kendall left 10. I think you can see Enzo Fernandez left 10. There's a lot of guys. Defense need a rebuild no matter what. Current CBs can't be trusted. I just don't agree. I just don't agree with that. Like maybe across like a huge number of competitions, like sure, but I think it's fine if you don't do a huge amount of CB business. I would definitely loan out Josh because he's not going to get games. That's the thing. I think like absolutely, I'm loaning him out. I do think you can wait on that one though and say like, let's see how much Alonso likes him in preseason and whether he's going to play, and then you can loan him. What is my hot take? I mean, my hot take positive is that like it is not inconceivable that Chelsea win the title. Like it's totally possible that if you hit a hot finishing run and a good goalkeeping season with one game a week, like you could totally hit 82 points. I don't think it's likely, but it's possible. Perfect Man says I want Josh and Sar to play all midweek games. Chelsea will play 3 midweek games the whole season. That's it. That's the whole schedule. Like if we go look right now, okay? Chelsea schedule. If I go Chelsea schedule FOTMob. Let's just go to the league schedule, right? These are all preseason. 1 week, 1 week, 1 week. Nothing. 1 midweek game. 2 midweek games. 3 midweek game. 4 midweek game. 4 the whole season? And you might have like 2 more when you get like a weird, like if you advance far enough in the cup, so you might have 6. Josh Hatcherbong's gonna play 6 minutes, 6 games. Is that really enough? Like it's fine. Like I just you're gonna play like at most you'll play 10 midweek games. It's not enough. It's not enough. How do I think Maresca does with City? I think he gets 2 years and then gets let go for a real coach. He's like clearly the palate cleanser after Pep. He's like just there to like keep the ship vaguely pointing in the right direction. On the goalkeeper thing, we still have no clue what's going to happen with Penders or Sanchez. Yeah, I'm very curious to see if Penders takes the full 3 weeks off or if he just like tries to come back in right away. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see how that goes, but it's very open. It's very open. I could totally see Penders playing. We'll see. I did have a weird thought that after the Lemons era, I was like, if Belgium had come back and advanced, would Penders have played the next match? The negative hot take is that like I think Palmer's probably done as a top guy. I think the season and a half under Poch and Maresca is like will end up being the exception to his career. I think he'll be a useful and good player still, but I don't think he's going to be that guy anymore. Groin and adductor stuff is like a real career killer, and like he is so like that. I think that's the thing. Do you think we're going to play back 3 or back 4? 6 weeks ago, I would have said 82%. I would have said 83%. 5 out of 6. We're playing a back 4. Like 1 in 6 games, we'll play a 3. Now I'm probably closer to 50-50. Like a lot of these moves, like Palestra, Pep Chavaria, selling Andre, like these feel very back three coded to me. And I've heard everyone who's like inside preseason is kind of saying it's going to be a three. So we'll see. We won't know till the 28th. Am I scared about the long term implications of? Am I scared about the long term implications of being capped at 42K, given all of our rivals now have massive steady income with their super stadiums? United now are building a 100K seater. I mean, I think match day revenue is increasingly a smaller proportion of clubs' total revenue streams. So like it's a detriment, but like it's a smaller detriment than like just not having a shirt sponsor. You know what I mean? Um, like I'd rather just do those things well. It's the reality of the situation. Like I understand the fans not wanting to go to Twickenham. Like I dropped off a rental car near Twickenham and I was like, this is so far from anything. Like I get it. I get not wanting to go play out there. I get not wanting to play at Wembley. And like given the current interest rate and cost of construction, like there's just no world where you're building in downtown London. I'm sorry. So I get it, but it's like it is what it is. Um my personal opinion is Chelsea need a defensive leader at the back. I mean, I think Colwell is that guy. Thoughts on the academy news? Medi Nico Jazuli, Reggie Watson, Badoual signing. Can we expect anything next season for the first team from Arkham and a few more U tournaments? I'm very, 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 very curious to see what happens with um, the guys at the top end of the 21s last year. Like, what is Shim Muka doing this year? Like to me, I'm looking at it and I'm like, why is he not on a really good loan already with like a full preseason, like everything ironed out? That's crazy to me. Ryan Kavuma McQueen, like I have no problem with him doing another 6 months in the 21s, but like and planning for January, right? Um like I think that's cool. I think keeping a lot of the scholars was really good. I'm very curious about this like Jack Francis become head of player pathways thing and Vander Kran being academy director, but I also think like if you look at the academy last year, like broadly a successful year. You won a lot of games, some good academy seasons, like some weird things with Hassan Suleiman which suck, but I think broadly it's like a successful year. So, we'll see. And you kept all the big guys, which matters. Um Adeyemi Tabarsa is a weird one. That just feels like a Rashford replacement. Player trading gets easier when you win. Totally agree. Having Colwell back is going to be big. I'm hyped. How do you play Kenda, Estevao, Gittins, and Neto? Only two of them will get meaningful minutes, probably. I think you just. Well, I think you probably only play two of them at a time. Maybe three, but you never know. Omega stats and non-penalty expected goals per 90 are insane. Yeah, Omega's underlings are very strong. Just you don't have a lot of minutes there, and he's like a weird stylistic fit for what Chelsea are going to be. So we'll see. If we play back three and we buy Lacroix, who's going to be the central defender, I don't like the idea of Colwell being shifted to left. If you buy Lacroix, that's what's happening. Colwell is being the left guy, which I think is fine. I think he's good there, man. Which academy players do I want with the first team this season? Anyone who's going to play a lot of games. Before Palestra, I would have been into Antwi playing games. If it's a back three, Josh is a right center back, I'd be so into. But like you just have too many bodies for all these guys. Muka, I'd love to stay. That's not happening. I don't know if there's a guy that's like gonna get a lot of games. Landon Emanalo, I think, is fun. But again, I don't think that's gonna happen. Colwell left center back was awful under Poch. It's not his game. I mean, he played actual left back. Like he overlapped at left back. That's not the same as left center back in 3. Question on Estevao, the grade 4 thing. Well, the grade 4 thing is very strange. Because grade 4 is like you cannot rehab that without surgery. So I think there's some like translation shenanigans. It does sound like Esteval decided to not have surgery, which is totally reasonable for a player of his age. I hope that Chelsea are still continue to be pretty cautious about his development and managing him physically to not crazy overplay him. I thought they did a really, really good job last year under Maresca managing that. Less so later. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. We'll see. Hi, Kier. Are you planning to do an apology video to world class talent Keon Best when he breaks into the first team next year and he benches Hato? If Keon Best starts a match for Chelsea, I will do like a YouTuber themed like apology video in black and white. But it won't happen, so I won't do that. All right. It's 3 hours. I'm gonna wrap it there. I might do one next weekend if something happens. But nothing will probably happen. And we'll see from there. And then preseason comes, and then we'll figure out what I'm gonna do from there. But for now, this will have to tide you over for quite some time. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. I think we're gonna learn a lot about the old Chelsea this year. I hope, anyways. And as always, enjoy the soccer, enjoy the World Cup.